I'm Chris McDonough, a retired homicide detective. I've interviewed thousands of people, from serial killers to ministers. Welcome to the interview room. Aloha, everybody. Welcome to the interview room tonight. We're so grateful that you're here. So thankful for each and every one of you this evening. For our mods, Miss Sophia, our team lead, and then, of course, we have Maui Girl, Mimi J2, Stephanie Erb, Sophie H, and our newest mod, Miss Teresa Milligan. We're so grateful for you. Teresa, been such a strong supporter of the interview room. We're thankful that you were able to join our team, and we're very appreciative of all the positive energy that you will continue to bring to our chats here. And welcome all of our members, all of our Patreon members. We'll give you a little shout out here. All of you folks that have been supporting us over on that side at the commander level. We are so thankful for everything that you guys have been given to us in terms of not only support, but emotional strength too. Sometimes Karen, D-Man, and I are so grateful to each of you on this list. We are really, really appreciative. And of course, all of our subscribers here and all of our members here on, YouTube, we're thankful for you as well. But as everybody knows, our motto here is your subscription is enough. And we're grateful for that. So don't worry if you're, in tough times. We'd rather have you take care of yourself and just hit that subscribe and share button for us. We are so appreciative of that, very appreciative of that. And Crime Time, thank you so much for becoming a new member this evening. A couple of things going on here, right? Boy, we live in an absolutely crazy world. I think we can all admit to that, and take a moment. I'm just going to take about 15 seconds, a moment of silence for all of those families, those children, those moms, dads, grandmothers on both sides of the conflict taking place in Europe. So in your heart of hearts, let's just take about 15 minutes or 15 seconds of reflection, and send some love and positive energy. Hopefully that conflict ends quickly. And to all of our other troops who are out and about protecting our world, so that we can have this ability to have free speech and just please, hopefully we can get everybody on the same page, even within our own country. So let's just take a couple of seconds here. Great. Well, that's awesome. And also I hope I know I do that, I add a couple of extra thought process here for the children of this country, for Summer, for Michael, Monkey, and many thousands others, children that are going every single day. So I've got Steve in the house tonight, and Steve's gonna Mr. Steve Johnson. I'm going to introduce him and add him into the screen here, but I don't think Steve's been a part of our. Let's find out where you're at. What we're going to do is, let's show him some love, and everybody roll call. Tell me where you're at. Here we go. We've got a really tough subject tonight. Steve, we're going to talk about going back into the house for a second, right?
That's absolutely.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Get
So
in the
everybody,
house.
let's show some love to Steve. Show him where you're at. We've got Middle Missouri in the house, Florida, Hawaii, Australia. Top of the morning to you. Chicago, the Windy City, Victoria, Australia. Hey, I saw some cool cases over there. I think pretty soon we're going to weigh in. Our friends to the north, Canada, God bless you all. Stay strong. Stay the course. Indiana's in the house. Elizabethtown, Tennessee. I see some more Australia, Tennessee, Cleveland, Ohio, Springfield, Tennessee. Boy, there's a lot of Tennessee folks with us tonight. It's great to see you. Steve, you got some love already from Alex. Hello from Connecticut. Love Connecticut. Mid-Michigan. Hopefully it's a Youper. It's a Youper. Nebraska's in the house. Kansas City. Hey, Steve. Denver. Ireland. Top of the morning to you. Top of the morning, my people. Boston. Beantown. Get out of here. Love you all. Central New York. New Yorker. Good to see you. Michigan. Florida. Steve, you have more fans than anybody I've ever had on this show.
That's awesome. I love your fans.
It's great. The Bay Area is here in the house. So I've got with me probably, in my opinion anyway, one of the smartest and probably the most experienced statement analysis guys I've ever known. Steve Johnson, if you don't know him, is Truth2Lies. We're going to see his information all night long going across the screen. And in fact, there it goes. And if you want to know what Steve's all about, you can hit this website, truth2lies.com, and you are going to hopefully get an opportunity to sign up for one of his courses, because he teaches not only federal law enforcement, state law enforcement on not only a national level, but he's had people from all around the world come to his classes, and he teaches you what the underlining meaning potentially is of a word. It's not nitpicking, but he does, an entire word analysis or behavioral analysis on what the hidden language is behind the message being looked at and seen. So if you have not had a chance to hear him, and if this is your first time here tonight, we've already got 2,000 people here in the chat to learn about what he does. You're in for a cool treat. And one of the coolest things over on his website, do you still have Lori Vallow's little love letter up?
Yeah, I do. If you, when you go to the website, if you go to the, I don't remember if it says articles or blog articles, but if you log into there, I've got half dozen so articles, and one of them is about Lori Vallow and a letter she wrote regarding JJ. It was actually an email, I think, regarding JJ. She's pulling him out of school, and just the information from that alone is just amazing. But there's all kinds of stuff that I have and on the website. And Chris, you don't know this, but I just launched a mini course. I have it now on that website. And
serious? Okay, go.
It's the essentials of what we're doing here, just what you described, the meaning behind the words. And it's the mini course. It's the essentials course, essentials of statement profiling. And I priced it cheap. It's $97, but for the next 2 weeks, everyone that's watching this show, you can get that course. I discounted it 20%. You just put in the promo code.
Okay, hashtag TIR, right? No hashtag. Just say TIR sent me.
That's the discount code, and you'll get 20% off of that. So it's dirt cheap, and you'll like it. I'm excited to have it launched. So yeah, we've got the main course, awesome. And now we have the smaller course. Thank you, Pearl.
Very cool. Very, very, very cool. Thank you so much. And Steve, that's really, I'm so excited that you finally took the leap to go digital, because you have been teaching for so long, at the classroom level. And we had to get him out of the Stone Age, guys, and get him up to the 21st century. And his
For
team
sure.
has finally gotten him
Yeah.
over there. But this gentleman in front of us is very humble, and he has taught some of, many, a lot of the cases that we read about, or see behind the scenes. Steve has probably taught those investigators, how to make sense of it. So behind the scenes, he is a force to be reckoned with. And so one of the things I want to talk about tonight, and I know people have mentioned it in the past, during this particular case. And so Candus created a um, a new YouTube channel. And so Don, as I don't know if you heard or not, because I know you're really, really busy. Don's in custody for the DUI. They gave him, 6 months, right? And then he's going to have to do that six. Uh, he's going to have to do that six, and then he's going to have to go to a rehab at the conclusion of that.
Mm.
And so he's going to have to finish out his sentence. You and I both know what that means. When he gets out, he's going to have to go to a halfway house, etc.
Right.
Well, okay. So in the interim, right, Candus has decided to break free a little. She was in a hotel the other night. She started her YouTube channel, and God bless her for doing that. And now she has a message or a platform for messaging. Okay. I don't know what's going to happen with the other platform that they have, but she now has a place to go and express herself. So if you could have maybe your team kind of, see what's happening at some point down the road. And if you find something that you feel is, interesting, ping me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, definitely.
Because I think it's going to be, the gift that keeps on giving. And so
I do
we'll
too.
just,
That is great knowledge. And I work with some people that will be all over that, and they'll recognize it right away. So I'm excited for that. And hey, good for Candus, good for all of us, good for Summer.
yes.
That's great. More power to her.
Yes, because Don now doesn't have is not able to lock in, scripting. So I want you to explain a little to the audience that's here, and then we're going to get into. I know you broke down and you gave me a Reader's Digest version of some of the highlights that you have had an opportunity to take a look at on the conversation that um, took place between she and I at the house. But this is the first time you've actually weighed in, and we've been kind of holding this for a while to see how things were going to progress, and we'll get into that. But now that she's out of range of Dawn right now, I'm already starting to hear some things about narrative. Okay, educate everybody about what exactly is scripting in relationship to statement analysis.
Well, that's a really good question. And the scripting aspect is really, Chris, anytime someone makes something up that did not actually occur, by default, it's scripting. So someone calling 911, reporting something that did not happen, and there's a ton of those. In this case, if Candus had anything to do with her daughter Summer's disappearance, the story that she is the narrative that she is telling us, that she told you, it's scripted. And to recognize the scripting is key. And quite frankly, there's a lot of professional investigators, corporate and criminal investigators, that they don't recognize it. And that's basically the crux of what we teach, is how to recognize the signs of deception, which is going to be by default scripting. And so I love it when people script, because they they have to make up this story, and usually they have to make it up pretty quick. And even if they have a few days to think about it, they don't think of everything. They just can't. By default, they cannot think of all the little details. And so in their head, they script just enough that they think is sufficient for the authorities to buy off on it, that it suffices, that they won't ask any further questions, that they'll just accept what they tell them and go on. And typically it'll be wordy, because if something really happened and you're just conveying what occurred, it's very usually short, concise, simple. It's to the point. There's no convincing language in when something really occurred. You don't have the sales technique of emotion being employed, and several other things. And I'll point out some things tonight as we go along. That's kind of it's an example of scripting. And so you have all these, we call them sensitivity indicators. It's not that I'm sensitive about a certain thing. When I say sensitivity, it's I'm feeling, if I was the one speaking, I'm sensitive about it, meaning I'm feeling some anxiety, some angst about what I'm saying. And it's raising the stress in my mind and in my body. And so that's a sensitivity indicator. And there's a lot of them. And so we look at we teach how to recognize those sensitivity indicators. And if you've seen me on the show before, then you've seen that I've pointed a lot of those out, and I'm going to point more out tonight. And those are key. If you can recognize those sensitivity indicators, you can recognize overall, you'll learn to recognize the scripting. Scripting, they try to make it sound as if it's a normal thing, and oftentimes they will actually use the words normal and usual, and other times they won't, but they'll describe what is the normal or the usual. And they think that because that is what normally happens, that we'll accept that is what happened in that particular incident. But that's just not the case. We're not going to accept it. If they didn't say that it actually happened, we're not going to accept it. We're not going to allow them to get away with that. And so, Chris, you described it perfectly a little earlier. We're looking at the reasons the brain is producing the words or phrase that it does. What's psychologically behind it? What has to be going on in order for those words to be produced in that context and at that particular time? And so scripting is a lot of fun. I love recognizing the scripting, because it's all deception, and it's just scripting language is full of sensitivity indicators, and it's just a lot of fun for us to recognize, to go into, and it's truthful language is, there's nothing in there it's just concise, it's simple, it's to the point. There's no sensitivity, there's no angst about it. But deceptive language, scripted language, it's riddled with it, and it's a lot of fun to recognize those different principles. So the thing that I get the biggest kick out of when I see scripting is that they will give the story, And then a good investigator will ask a really good follow-up question. Explain this in more detail. Describe how you felt that this, describe what do you want us to know about, in this particular case, what do you want us to know about Summer? And they will have almost nothing to say, because they have to manufacture it, and it's very difficult to do, on the fly in a split second, and they just absolutely have nothing to say. They can't answer it. So a lot of indicators of scripting, and you're going to see a lot of that in this narrative tonight. And we've seen it already in Don Wells' interview. We saw it earlier when Candus was at the water hole, and we're going to see some more of it tonight. It's going to be fun.
Okay, so yeah, this is going to be cool, because this is part 3. If you're just joining with us, I would recommend you go see part 1, which is Don, the phone call with Don, where Steve points out a lot of information that has, I'm sure at some point will fall to the ground quickly. And then the second one was, Candus at the water hole. We recently did that one. And, we both said that it sounds like this thing's going to keep falling apart here. And within what, a week, 2 weeks, he's in jail. She's in, her own little environment right now. And, it looks like, she's, doing some good things in terms of reminiscing about her children, and maybe the children are there on kind of a half visit with, CPS, supervised visits is what they call those. And, hopefully she's getting some type of emotional current to her system, to where she can respond a little bit deeper in relationship to Summer. We don't know, right? Steve, you and I have both been on the same page. We don't know if this, what the totality of the circumstances are. I have some opinions, but they're my opinions. You have yours. I think collectively, as both who have investigated major crimes like this for a long time, we're going to see some pressure coming here.
Yeah.
From mostly from themselves, because they've got to keep carrying that message that all is well over here. Nothing to see here, move along.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Kind of like some guy over in Europe right now, right? No, those are. Or remember Baghdad Bob back in the first Gulf War, where he was like, telling everybody, oh, the Americans aren't, we've got it completely under control. I was just waiting for him to, walk into the studio, right? And everyone called that guy Baghdad Bob.
Baghdad Bob.
So we're kind of in that phase. I would submit that we're getting close to, answers, and in relationship to the narrative changing, the narrative shifting, because it has to.
Yeah,
it has to shift. One of the two parties is out of the play. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's the old adage that a web of lies, and it's difficult to keep up a narrative. If it's true, you can keep it up the rest of your life, but if the narrative has any deception within it, man, it is hard to continually stoke that fire. It takes emotional and mental and physical energy to continually keep that stoked and keep that momentum going. And at some point, most people just crash. They cannot maintain that. So you're right, Chris, that if they can't maintain it, if Candus can't maintain it, Don can't maintain it, it will change. And you'll see that change by default, just like you said, because they are watching these shows too. They are learning from us. And this is very typical, is they're not the first ones. There's been a lot of people that have been called out for things when they have lied, and others, myself and my colleagues have called them out, and later on they change the narrative and they change it up, and it's usually in direct relation to something that we said or wrote, and we've taught them now what to say, and now they say it. But we call that, it's too late. You know, they're showing up with that narrative way too late. That should have come in the beginning. And so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, how the narrative changes, how we're going to, I personally think that there's going to be more breakdown, because this takes a toll on you. If you're hiding anything, it's just so difficult to maintain, and physical, mental, emotional, there's going to be a breakdown.
Yeah. Thank you, Vet Girl. And we are, I 100% agree with you. So here's the way we play this, guys. If you've never been here before, just subscribe. We're good to go. And then, so the way we do this is I've put it on a little bit slower. I've asked the mods to put our chat on slow because we've got almost 3,500 people in here now. Okay. So we went, you know, we've got people who like to learn and like to listen, and who also have opinions, but they're, you know, they're considerate of our chat here. We like, you know, we love that you're here. We love that you have an opinion. It doesn't have to be right, doesn't have to be wrong, but it does have to be courteous. Okay. And it also has to be respectful of not only our mods, I'm very protective of them, but also of our listeners and all of our TIR family here. We consider you family if you're in our chat. Okay. And so, you know, please continue to be respectful. When we're done here, look at that, you know, right down there, that ticker that's going to keep going through this whole conversation here. Get over there, take a look at Steve's, you know, things, this courses and stuff that he advertises and trains. And then he also has a YouTube page that you can, you know, get over and, you know, hit that button as well. So the way we're going to do this, guys, is right by those numbers. And so I'm going to put the video up. Steve's going to, you know, we're going to have a narrative to that, and he's going to point out things that I may, you know, not see, which is a lot. Trust me, this guy is the pro. I listen to him, and I put my fruit at his feet, and we pay attention to, you know, to those things that he sees. And then, you know, hopefully there are going to be things that you're going to see that, you know, you're going to be able to ask him questions here in a little bit. Okay. So are you ready, Steve? You got your seatbelt on?
It's buckled, buddy. Let's go.
Okay, here we go, buddy. All right. So, oh, and I already did this, right? Thank you so much for our Patreon members. Okay, I just want to make sure we acknowledge you. All right. More respect for what you're telling me by standing here. Yeah. And I got my little camera here. So when I'm looking at this terrain and I'm going, holy cow, she could have even, there's a million possibilities here. Yeah, there's down there, and there's the road down there.
Yeah, that's the road. And that's my mom's house.
Okay.
Like literally it's.
And this right here.
Usually you can see the road.
Oh, by the way, tell me when to stop because I don't have the timeline. Let me see if I can shut this banner off here so I can maybe see the timeline. Not yours. Hang on.
And if not, I'll stop you.
Okay, cool. All right. Sorry about that. All right. Here we go.
Because they have went through here and mowed and took down a bunch of stuff away from the power lines.
Okay.
But usually it's full up. You can't even see the road.
That day, though, how was it? Was it full up or was it like this?
That day and a few days prior to that, they were working on this.
Okay.
So I've even come to a conclusion maybe one of them people have snatched it.
Oh, interesting.
Because they were all the way up here. On
I see those, the path down there. I see the tracks
hold up right
down
there, Chris.
Okay, go.
Yeah. So I'm starting to see already some sensitivity indicators in there, and that's when she's providing reasons why something happened. I'm not going to get too nitpicky here. I'm just saying I'm starting to see it, and so I'm going to continue now. I'm on alert. I'm going to see if this continues. But she said that, you know, her story here that she's been the narrative that she's been driving is that somebody came up on the property and took Summer, and you know, she has to maintain that. And so she now is saying she's kind of she by default, she doesn't know who took Summer. And so she's obviously, everybody is suspect. Nobody is off the table. And as investigators, you and I both know that, hey, when there's a kidnapping, a legitimate kidnapping, and there's no suspects, that means everybody's a suspect. It could literally be anybody. And so now she's talking about the workers that were working on the road and working on the power lines. And she says they were working on this. And she says it's because they were working on that, that she says, I've even come to the conclusion that maybe one of them people snatched her. And then she doubles up on the reason why, because they were all the way up here on the property. And so it's one thing. I always ask myself, is there a simpler way to say that? Is there a shorter way to phrase that? And in this case, yeah, there is. And she could have said, who knows? I mean, I hope that the authorities looked at all those people too, because I don't know their backgrounds. Maybe one of them has a troubled background that could have that tendency, or could be a suspect as well. But she's not saying that. She's saying it's more of a convincing. She's trying to convince you that one of those people could have taken her because they were all the way up here on the property. And because they were all the way up on the property.
She qualifies that.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
She qualifies that by saying, I've even come to the conclusion.
There you go. Right.
And that's an emotional indicator.
Yes. Yes. Right. That's it right there. So now I'm seeing, okay, this is convincing language. He's trying to sell you, Chris, it could have been one of those guys, and without knowing it, she's giving herself away because she's qualifying it when it doesn't need to be qualified. Right. And so here we go. Now we're seeing these are some of the things that go unnoticed. And we're seeing these little sensitivity indicators already, those qualifications, the reasons why, when you didn't ask why, but she's offering them anyway. And so that's a good way to put it, is this the unneeded qualification.
Okay. Keep moving.
Let's go.
Over there.
And they were all the way up here to my light pole.
Okay. And you told TBI all this, right? I
told TBI this, yes.
Okay. Okay. And yeah, I can see the cars going by. That is not far from your property. Mm-mm. Is there a holler down there? I mean, is there a river of some sort?
The creek runs all the way around the property.
And how deep is a creek? Okay, just so it's like an inch, inch or two. Okay.
You'd be lucky to get wet enough to do anything.
Yeah, to pull the workers in, that's quite a feat, right? I mean, in terms of if you're cutting trees with all your coworkers, and now you got a 5-year-old kid, and it's like, what are you doing with the kid? Right? And you're trying to get that kid out of the arena, right? Out of the area of influence here.
That's a tough sell.
That's a tough sell. Yeah, but it was on the table, right? I used to call that soggy bread. It's for sale, right?
Soggy. I love that.
Put it in. See if anybody wants it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's pick it up from where, and I'm going to just use this little one. Is that okay? Okay. So from when you got home, now she's leaning.
My mom's truck parks here.
Okay. Your mom's truck's right here.
Yes.
Okay. So when you're She's leaning against the milk. Is she
Yes.
sleeping?
She was sleeping, yes.
Okay. From exhaustion from that day?
Yes, she was. Where I woke her up early, and she usually sleeps until 9, 10, even 12 o'clock if I let her.
Okay. How did the milk...
Hold up right there.
Yep.
That was subtle, but it's a subtle denigration. We call it victim blaming, denigration. It all falls under the same umbrella. But you know, when your little 5-year-old goes missing, do you really think about all the little negative things about him, or do you think about the positive things? Well, you think about the positive things. You know, you have this angelic view. It happens with even the most troubling kids, the troublemaking kids. Still, when they pass, when they go missing, there's an angelic view of them, and so we don't expect any subtle digging or denigration. And what she said here about Summer, it went real quick, but she said she just sleeps till 9, 10, even 12 o'clock if I let her, as if, I mean, she's a kid. Yeah, of course she's going to do that. But it's just a little subtle dig. And I'm not saying it's a big thing, or not hanging my hat on it or anything like that. I'm just saying, I wouldn't expect that, especially regarding my 5-year-old. It would, I think I would have more, it would be all just positive things. I would remember just the most fondest and memories about her, and all the little, the funny things and that she does, and the funny things she said, and all that kind of thing. And so anyway, small but subtle denigration right there. So now I don't really like it, and I'm further on alert now.
Okay. And explain to everybody, I know you keep qualifying that, right? What exactly in your art, why that's necessary to start, catching these, I'll call them red flags. I know you have your own verbiage for it, but you start catching these red flags, and if your team was working on this, obviously everybody's catching something, and then there's an analysis at the conclusion. In fact, you were pinging me the other day. One of my guys, one of my team members caught this. Have you seen this yet? And I was like, not yet, but I'm about ready to. And man, it was spot on. I don't want to tell everybody what it is right now because, I won't explain it correctly. I know I won't, but
Right.
it was good to go. So in this situation, you're in your mind, you still have an open mind, but you're starting to see a pattern here. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, correct. So yeah, all these things stack up, and by calling one thing out, I'm not going to hang my hat on that. But when I have several that stack up, I call it the mountain of evidence. It's being built, and until it gets to a point where it just can't sustain itself, and it kind of just implodes. It just you can't stack any more on it, and it all is based on human nature. It's based on how we've been acting and what we expect from a biological mother for many years. And now I know that everybody has different issues and things, and some people have said, well, Candace grew up in a different environment, so she might think a little bit different. Well, that's true. We all are different, but human nature dictates that. And I can tell you this, and Chris, I know you can think back on the cases that you worked. If I didn't say anything about this at all, and I just asked you about, hey, think about a case where maybe a family that had a kid in their family that was young, 12, 13 years old. He was a gang member, causing a lot of problems. The family didn't really agree with what he was doing. They didn't like it. He was tagging up the whole house and the garage and everything, and had friends over they didn't like. And then suddenly the guy was killed. And whether it was a police shooting or a rival gang member or whatever, what was the family's response? What was their view of Junior now, even though they constantly were calling the police on him before? Now what's the view of Junior? And it's oh, they spoke so highly of him. And it's like Junior,
they circle the wagons.
Yeah, right. Circle the wagons. And Junior was the one that was the glue to the family. And how are they going to go on without Junior? And it's suddenly this outpouring, and it's sometimes it has been feigned a little bit, but the reality of it is that they feel the pain of their missing child. As a parent, even though we might have a troubled child, we love them, and we can't get over that love. It's just so strong. And so when they're gone, oh my gosh, the heartache that it's just people that have a child, have lost a child. And I know, Chris, you know what this is like. Have a child missing. It rips your heart out, and your thoughts and memories of that child are they're just endearing. And so when denigrating language slips off the tongue, we step back. We hear that and we step back and we think, wait a minute, that violates human nature. That's not what a parent, that's not what over hundreds of cases and I should say thousands of examples and over thousands of years how parents have reacted. It's documented, and we know this, and so that's what we're going on. And so here we have this subtle denigration, and so, as you say, it's a red flag, and we could explore it further. We might take it off the table. That's why I say, okay, I'm just going to highlight this because I'm seeing this, but she might say something later on that clarifies that, and I'll take it off the table. It's gone. I'll erase it. She might say something later on that makes that even stronger, a stronger trait of denigration. And so now my highlight, my what I underlined before now becomes a highlight. It's definitely a red flag. And so that's what we're doing as we go along. And that's how we come to our conclusion at the end. We look at everything. Some things we take off the table. Some things are now in bold and highlighted, and they're even more important. So yeah, they all stack up.
Yeah. What's really been interesting in this case is it keeps evolving. I mean, just from here and your observations, spot on. It's now going to evolve. It's evolved to a YouTube channel. Okay. It's evolved from this statement as a mom whose baby, by this point, has been gone at least, 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Now it's evolved into, a TV show. It evolved into, domestic violence, virtual domestic violence, for lack of a better term, 911 responses, sheriff's departments involved, and additional searches where, one party or the other is worried about perception, lots of blame. I mean, I've even been accused of taking Summer, so,
Wow.
just keep doing the math. Just keep
Wow.
doing the math on, where we're at now. And now that it's going to be really fascinating to hear, about how the narrative is going to change again. I mean, you've got other players, coming in, right? I'll call them the PR team, okay, coming in, and who's actually writing the script now that Dawn, or is trying to maintain that script? if in fact it's accurate, who's going to do that? Because, I would submit to you that we know DW has got other problems other than just his DUI.
Right.
That's all going to
Right.
be piled up here at some point. So
Right.
the fact that these little pieces that continue to, we discuss, and this is just our opinion. It doesn't necessarily mean it's right or wrong. It just means at this point, professionally, you're seeing things. I've been seeing things for quite some time. And I think those dynamics are going to shift. What say you on that
No,
piece of pie there?
Yeah, I as you were talking about that YouTube channel that she now has up, I asked myself, why the need to have a YouTube channel? Now, if everything on that YouTube channel is about finding Summer, then I say, you know what? Good for her. Good for her. But more often than not, what we will find, and I know I'm educating her right here, and so it'll be interesting to see how things change, if anything gets taken down from prior
Yeah,
to
she's
right
probably
now.
watching it.
Yeah. But people typically have to defend themselves. There's been insinuations and that she has guilty knowledge, and I've called it out. I've said she has guilty knowledge, and so she's got to defend that. And because her narrative has not worked. There's been things in her narrative, and we've only discussed a part of her narrative, and there's other things
Right.
out there, and there's a lot in there. There's just riddled with sensitivity indicators, meaning we would come to a conclusion of guilty knowledge. I'm willing to take that off the table. I'm not saying I can't say what happened. I don't know what happened, but I think that Candus, it's highly likely that Candus knows, and she has to sell the story. She has to sell the narrative, and so I probably should just leave it at that for now.
Yeah, no, I agree. And what's fascinating about that, and I'm gonna move on here, is I hope she takes advantage of Don being locked up, out from underneath that pressure, and goes to the authorities. Don't go to YouTube. Don't come. I don't need to hear it. Go to TBI. Go to the FBI. Go
Right.
to Hawkins County Sheriff's Department. Say, I'm here to tell you something.
Yeah.
And whatever that something is, just put it on the table, and let's let them help you get your baby back. You keep talking about it, Candus, but we need to have you do that. And when I say we, meaning the world is waiting. Okay? They're waiting to hear if there's more. Okay.
I don't
And
think
so,
I don't think she understands how endearing that would be. I mean,
right.
the thousands, if not millions, of people that are watching this story. If Candus at this point in time took the opportunity while DW is locked up to come forward and say, here's what happened, here's what I know, and please, authorities, you take it from here, let's make this right. This is her opportunity, and I tell you what, more people would be endeared to Candus than she can imagine. People would be praying for her. People would be just overjoyed, ecstatic that she is making that break and doing the right thing. I don't think she understands that, but this is history. You look back in history of people that have done something wrong, and then gone on to say, you know what, I did this, and I'll bring one up. It's President Clinton when he had the affair. I mean, he had a couple, but he went on on TV and he admitted it. And he said, look, yeah, I did this. And he just admitted it. And what happened? It went away. And it was not a big thing anymore. And so, Candus, if you're watching, I'm telling you, you would make so much traction by just going to the authorities and letting them know. People would love you, absolutely love you for that.
Yeah, they would. And starting here, we would respect you immensely, still have, still do, still think though there's more. And we're hoping now that Don's in a controlled environment where he's eating his peanut butter and jelly sandwiches at night and 33 square feet, and he's sleeping like a baby, by the way, Candus. He's sleeping like a baby. Well, you're out here, stuck. And by the way, he's got other problems coming too, but that's another show, and we'll talk about that later. Okay, let's keep moving, Steve. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Bottles get rearranged. Hunter said he had them on the floor, and then he put them next to him.
They weren't.
Is that true?
No.
Okay, so walk me through that.
When we dropped them off, they were actually still on his lap.
Okay.
And he put them on the other side of Summer.
Okay. So he reached over?
Yeah, he set them over there by that. What's a black tote she had in there?
Okay. Was there? Where's that tote at?
I think actually my mom's got it still in her truck. It's got a bunch of crafts and stuff in it.
Okay, got it. And now from when you pulled up, did she just fall asleep next to that?
She fell asleep, I'd say maybe 5 minutes on the road.
Okay, got it. And then, so walk me through, you get home, you take the groceries inside. Is Don home, by the way?
No, he's not.
Okay.
Actually, I parked the truck and I opened both doors. It's really hard because this lawnmower of his. But I opened the doors up and I shook her. I said, wake up, we're at home. She jumped right up.
Okay.
Like nothing. I unbuckled her and I said, come on. I said, Mom, I'll be right back. Well, went in there and got the boys and they were sitting at the table. And I said, come on, let's get the groceries out. And we brought them all in the house, went through them all, did all that.
And this is that's her swing.
That's her swing right there.
Come show me her swing. Why is this, and who's
Hold
this?
up right there, Chris.
That is Smoking Boots.
Okay, go.
Okay, I'm gonna back up just a little bit, and there's some right after this. We'll stop it again. But what she said was, and by the way, I just love listening to you interview and ask the proper follow-up questions, because the right question begets the answer that gives us the information we need. And you asked her to walk you through it. Perfect. I can tell you're very, very seasoned. But she responded. She said, actually, I parked the truck. And just that word actually tells me that there's an alternative thought going on in her mind. She, instead of saying, I parked the truck, she added the word in actually. And so it's less of a commitment, but it's minor. So I won't go into much more about that. But she says, I parked the truck and I opened the doors. Is opening the doors really necessary to say? I mean, she could just say, yeah, we pulled up and I got Summer out and I had the boys come out. We got the groceries out and that's it. But listen to this. She is going to give us a lot of superfluous information, little detailed information that really is not needed. But there's a reason for it. So she says, actually, I parked the truck and I opened both doors. And she says, it's really hard because of this lawnmower of his. And she's pointing to a lawnmower right there. And so she's saying, and then she says, but I opened the doors up. So she repeated that she opened these doors up. Chris, anything that's repeated is sensitive. And this is something that we see in when you were talking about the scripting. There's something about this that is either Not exactly what happened that day. It could be what happened another day and she's recalling. There's something about this that's sensitive to her because she has told us now, I open the doors up, and if you don't believe me, it's really difficult for me to open the doors up, but I still did it. It's this lawnmower right here. She's kind of like digging at DW for one thing. He leaves his lawnmower here, but it's difficult for me to open those doors up, but I did it anyway. And I opened the doors up. More times than not, when they mention superfluous stuff, unnecessary detail, like an opening of a door, a car door, it indicates that they are likely going to lie to us within that statement somewhere. It's just because it's so unnecessary to say. We call it they're padding their statement with little truthful details, but I know that this truthful detail, because you have to open a car door to get someone out, to get your groceries out, but you don't have to say it. We rarely do say it. It's like most people don't say that they brush their teeth. And so when I hear them say that, when I ask them, hey, what happened? And they start telling me that they, somewhere in there, that they brush their teeth, I take note, because it's one of those things that I would say 9 out of 10 people are not going to mention that they brush their teeth, but we all do brush our teeth. Superfluous.
So, yeah. So I want to ask you a question on the track that you're on. So is she shooting from the hip, or is she, is it possible that this is kind of a traumatic moment for her for a second, kind of like the water hole? Remember, she got to the water hole and she goes,
Yeah.
everything's kind of slowing down here. And is she trying to just use verbiage to fill in, some of that blank there, not necessarily correlating it to the water hole? But the one thing that struck me is she had that long pause in there for just it was maybe 2 or 3 seconds, maybe. But we know, I think everybody knows, one of the most powerful tools in a courtroom is ask somebody how long a minute is. And then I've seen good attorneys just say, okay, well, everybody look at your watch or look at the clock in the courtroom and we'll start talking after a minute. Okay. So she pauses for a second. Can I go back and play those pieces to what you're talking about here?
Please do.
Yeah,
please do.
Okay. Because I want you to tell me what you feel potentially could be going on here. All right.
And I said, come on, let's get the groceries out.
Okay, let me go back further. Yeah, the lawnmower. Yeah, you're right on target. She's like, let me tell you about the lawnmower twice. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, he's
okay.
not.
Okay.
Actually, I parked the truck and I opened both doors. It's really hard because this lawnmower of his. But I opened the doors up and I shook her. I said, wake up, we're at home. She jumped right up.
Okay.
Like nothing. I unbuckled her and I said, come on. I said, Mom, I'll be right back. Well, went in there.
Right here.
And got the boys and they were sitting on the table.
She took a deep breath.
And I said, come on, let's get the groceries out.
Paused.
We brought them all in the house.
For a second.
Threw them all.
You can see her swallow, right?
Yeah.
So it was almost like she paused for a second to process something. And it's very subtle, but, it's just a second or two.
So went in there and got the
Right
boys
there.
and they were sitting
Did you see her? Did you see her swallow?
Yes.
So, okay. So it's almost as if mid-sentence, she wants to say something, but is she processing, where do I go from here? And I don't want to read too far into this one, but when she, because I'm standing like 1.5 feet from her, when she stopped and went like that, you could, right? Street has taught us, okay, what's going on here, right? Something's going on here. Why are we getting into real heavy pause here?
And I opened both doors. It's really hard because this lawnmower of his. But I opened the doors up and I shook her. I said, wake up, we're at home. She jumped right up.
Okay.
Like nothing. I unbuckled her and I said, come on. I said, Mom, I'll be right back. Well, went in there and got the boys and they were sitting at the table.
it's almost as if, okay, I got to interject the boys here for a second. I don't know. Am I reading too far into that one?
No, Chris, that observation, and I mean, you were there and you noticed it, and that's difficult to notice just watching the video until you pointed out that is a huge amount of stress that she's feeling. When we feel stress, our breathing becomes shallow, and so she was starved for air. She had to get some air, and I bet also another physiological reaction is that we don't have as much saliva, and I bet her throat was a little dry because it looked like she had to take a little swallow, and it was difficult for her to take a little, to wet the throat, and
she absolutely did.
Yeah. So that is one of those things that strengthens what I'm seeing in the language right here. The sensitivity, which is stress in the language. And that mentioning of the lawnmower was actually just one of those things that was a tangible truth right there. The lawnmower's there. You could see it. And by her pointing out that the lawnmower was there, that's one of the ways that's a sales technique of, you should believe everything else that I'm telling you, because see, I'm pointing out how difficult it was. You can see that this lawnmower is right here. That's true. You can see it with your physical eyes. So please believe everything else is coming out of my mouth is also true. She's not processing all that information, but that's the way that it works. That's the way her brain is processing that. And so this thing about opening the doors, I think this is something that, in my opinion, is likely traumatic for her. Huge sensitivity there. And for whatever reason, Chris, I don't know, but I think that there was something about opening those doors that was not comfortable for her. I mean, I only speculate from there. An accident had occurred or something. I don't know, but I do know that was sensitive. And now, what makes that even stronger is what she said right after that. Because she said, I opened the doors up and then there was something I couldn't understand, a word or two. And I said, "Wake up, we're at home." She jumped right up like nothing. Why would she say that? Why the need to say she jumped right up like nothing? That's a convincing statement. Why not just say we went in the house? No.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
That
Yeah,
took
you're right.
more
Elena says that
effort,
too.
more cognitive, more cognitive effort and thought and energy. We usually speak via the path of least resistance, and that took more. And she had to sell it. So whatever it was about opening that door up is related to Summer, and she sold you. She was trying to sell that Summer jumped right up. She jumped right up, and then if you don't believe that, it was like nothing. So she doubled up on it. That tells me that there was something about opening those doors. I don't like saying it, but I don't think that Summer jumped right up.
Yeah, I mean,
there's something about that right there.
So the picture, right? The picture of her in the video sleeping. Okay, that's been confirmed because you can see, the area that she drove past, and that's like 8 minutes from the house. Okay, but what I noticed on what you're saying, and we caught this a long time ago, all of us, right? that this idea of, her sleeping, okay, this was the first time she had the opportunity to present um, a point of a point to say, see, she jumped up.
Right.
Okay. And so the fact that you're saying this, you know, the way you are makes total sense. It's like, okay, is she sleeping? Is she, is she cognitive of what's going on? Or is she, just shooting from the hip? And now, all of this other stuff comes in and, that's just not really making a lot of sense ultimately, because now I know you've got a lot more coming, so I'm not going to get ahead of you. But now things really start getting interesting because she says, I unbuckle her. I said, come on. And you pointed out here, I'm going to read your script here or your sentence that you found. I said, Mom, I'll be right back. Went in there and got the boys, and they were sitting in there at the table. They were all locked in. Nobody could get in and nobody could get out. Hence tonight's thumbnail. Okay.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, the house is locked. Nobody can get in. Nobody can get out. Okay. But we don't have the little detail of, so I went up to the door. Okay. She just said, I went in and got the boys. Okay. I didn't go into the door. Okay. Unlock it, go inside, which is a minutia detail too.
Yeah.
And she just jumped up, seatbelt on. And I'm not saying that's, a normal expectation, but when I just interviewed, poor little Michael Vaughn's mom, Brandy, last, a couple nights ago, and her sentencing and her statement was just so flowing,
Yeah.
from her. It just,
Right.
it just flew right by. It's like, okay, yep, yep. Okay. Makes sense. Yep. I don't see. Yep. And even today, I mean, she, her little baby has been missing. Okay. Since July. I mean, and she is just, is not missing a beat. She's just bing, bing. And in this scenario, it's like the gift that keeps on giving. It's like, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense with that one, and that one doesn't make sense with that one. So, that's why people like you exist, and you've been doing this for a career. It's like, well, they call that deception.
Correct.
But the bigger question, right, for us, you and I and other folks that have been in this game for a long time is what part at this point, right? There's so many, as I like to say, there's so many moving parts here. And I got to get to the next side here because you have really nailed some very cool things. And I think our audience is going to go, what?
And I said, come on, let's get the groceries out. And we brought them all in the house, went through them all, did all that.
And this is that's her swing.
That's her swing right there.
Come show me her swing. Why is this? And who's this?
That is Smoking Boots. That's my boys' cat.
And how many dogs do you have here on the property? About?
Honestly, I don't know because people just keep dropping them off.
Hi. I know.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry. So this is her swing.
That's her swing.
This is her playground.
Yep.
And she loved this area. Boy, I'm looking at this, and this terrain, Candus, just strikes me as being so dense and just. Is that they say the dog trail? Where's this dog trail thing? That
I'm not sure, honestly.
There's so many of them.
The dogs go in every different.
Yeah, I saw the dogs came out of the woods as we were pulling up.
Yeah.
Okay.
They do that all the time.
Okay.
That trail right there, my boys, they ride those dirt bikes that are leaning against the truck over there.
Okay.
You can see there's one of them.
Okay.
And they
those are like 50 cc's, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one ain't. I think it's only like 25, I think.
Okay.
But yeah.
Now I'll say something real fast, Steve. That Don tried to clear that up. Okay, with the he was avoiding me this day too, by the way. But long story short, he later cleared that up by wanting to send me a video of the quote dog trail. Okay,
Oh.
So in her mind, the dog trail that she just pointed to was the dog trail. In his mind, they must, or somebody had a discussion that said, no, that's the wrong dog trail. Okay. It's the other one. Okay. And so, but what they didn't qualify was the little dirt bike right behind her, right there over her, behind her right shoulder. Well, there's a video of Summer chasing the boys on those motorcycles. She's barefoot and she runs all around that property. Okay. Well, also the boys go down that trail and it comes out onto the road. Okay. And there's a lot of information about, cars coming up that road, and the kids would all be out there on that road, and then they run back up the driveway. So, when folks, if you're just joining with us, I have Steve Johnson here from Truth2Lies. That's his website down there. We got about 5,000 people here now, and Steve is, he's renowned, and you can go check him out. And this is his analysis of Candus's statement at the house. And so in this, Steve, this was the day, actually, it was, I think the day after her boys were taken by CPS. So she's got a lot of different type of emotions going through her here. And the little cat that comes up, she reaches down and very tenderly, reaches down, grabs the kitty and, holds it close to her, almost like an emotional support, for her. And I, my heart just kind of for a second sunk. It's like, wow, she is really struggling here. And I didn't know if that was consciousness of guilt. I didn't, at this point, I did not know if it was, I'm stuck. Right. I'm stuck between the narrative and Don and wanting to tell everybody what I know.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if it's something, that how many times have we seen folks do stuff and they react just like this and they want to tell you, but they don't know how because they're so far in the well.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. It's hard to dig yourself out of the mud hole once you jump in it. It's difficult to get out. And it could be, her reaction could be a little bit of a combination of all those things that you just talked about. So I too, I feel for her. The fact is that Summer was her 5-year-old daughter, and she's gone. And my gosh, and have your other kids taken the day before. I can't imagine. I really feel bad for her, what she's going through with that right there when you're interviewing her.
And we're both hoping that she takes advantage of Dom being out of the house. If there is additional narrative here, that she take advantage of going to the authorities and saying, look, I got something else to tell you.
Yeah.
And really do it, Candus. If at any time you see this, please do that. Not only for you, most definitely for Summer. And if you feel that she's alive out there somewhere, tell them what you know. That's it. I think that's all the world would ask for, from you today. And everybody, if you can encourage her when you see her on her channel, just tell her, please, if there's more, tell them, please. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going because I want.
Yeah, they go down that trail with their dirt bikes and then come back up on the road, up on the driveway, and go around and stuff.
What was it about this swing that is just so important for her?
She liked it. She just liked to swing. All the kids did.
Now, I don't want to talk about the boys right now because I know that's, a tough another part of your heart. Okay. Yeah. And that's none of my business. Right. I'm not here for any, what I mean? I'm not here to judge anybody. Right. I'm here to talk about Summer and help you find Summer. Okay. And help anybody find her. Okay. That messaging. Okay. So you go into the house.
Go in the house.
Can I follow you in, or do you comfortable with that? Huh?
I don't know what about you. Let's steal the cat food.
Okay. And is this they're going to attack me?
No.
You know, I think I need to explain also the other side of our professional careers. You know, I've been with people and Steve and I have both been with people who've probably committed some of the most horrendous crimes uh, available to the human spirit. Okay. If you don't treat them with respect at any time of the day, you will never get the truth, even though they're the culprit. Okay. You have got to learn how to treat people with respect, or else you can forget it. Okay? You will never get a confession, and you'll never get that person to tell you why they did what they did, even though we don't agree with what they did. Okay? The dignity of the human spirit still needs to be treated with dignity. And, you know, I've had people say things about me, you know, for a very long time, which, as you can tell, I'm sleeping like a baby. Okay. Even to this day, because I know what the truth is. And I think she knows what the truth is, but that doesn't mean I have to beat her up emotionally while standing there. Okay. And that's why I think for some, it's like, oh my gosh, you know, why are you doing A, B, C, or D? Well, I get that. Okay. Um, but this is the way it should be done, as you know, professional. And this takes away all the craziness, even for her. You know,
Yeah.
maybe she will feel that she'll want to call Steve and say, "Hey, I need to tell you something," and he'll treat her just like this on the phone or in person. Or maybe she'll call me again and say, "Okay, I lied to you. I need to tell you A, B, C, or D." Hopefully she doesn't. Hopefully she calls TBI, the FBI, and Hawkins County Sheriff's Department, says, "I need to tell you something." Okay? So I didn't mean to
Yeah.
digress. I just saw a comment in the chat, and
No,
I just wanted to clarify.
if I can just dovetail off of that, Chris, the other thing too is, um, unless you've been in that situation, it's hard to understand the emotional turmoil that people have, um, when they've been involved in something that's pretty bad, and when they finally just turn that over, that relief is, I mean, it's so noticeable. It just washes over their face, over their body, just the whole everything, their whole countenance, the physiological reaction to just shedding that guilt and that secret and that deception that they've been hiding and holding on to. When that is just turned over, oh my gosh, I think they just add 10 years of their life. Seriously. Because if they hold on to that stress and that guilt and it's contrary to the human spirit, and it can cause illness and all kinds of things, if it's left in there, and it just festers. But once they release it, oh, that is the start to a whole new life. And Chris, I'm with you. I've interviewed people that have done the worst, and I've been there when those same people have literally just turned it over, just let it go. And some of those people I'm very happy to say have gone on and totally changed their life around. And I have the utmost respect for those people that are able to do that. So what you're doing right there is not only the right thing to do as an investigator and as a human being, treating someone with the dignity and respect, but you're giving her an opportunity to actually give herself better mental, emotional, and physical health. So it's really a great thing.
Yeah, I think if more investigators do this, and you know, because we all learn from the old guys, as we used to call them, right?
Yeah.
Now
Right.
we're those guys, and it's like if I had, when I was an FTO, I used to tell my trainees that just keep your mouth shut. You know, touch the radio when I tell you to, unless we're getting shot at. Then touch it all day long. And do you know what this button is? Yes, sir. Well, that's for the shotgun. You got it right. Don't touch it unless we're getting shot at. You got it? Yeah. Your job is, remember, you used a hand with a pencil, right? You're driving number 2 tonight. That's remember the number 2 pencil, right?
Yeah.
How many reports did they write? Thousands. Right?
Thousands. Yeah.
So, and don't say anything but know where you're at all time. Right. And so today everything is electronic, cameras and this and that, and they're losing. I'm not criticizing everybody. I'm just saying, you see these body cameras and the first thing out of their mouth is a cuss word. And I used to tell guys, my trainees, I would tell them, if you can't control this, how are you going to control this? If you can't control your tongue, how are you going to control your finger? So shut your mouth. Do not cuss at the public. Don't do it. Okay. Because it will come back and bite you, whether you like it or not. And
it sure will.
I mean, today you see things where you go, what in the world? So anyway, I'm done with my tirade. Let's go back to
that's
and that's my full tirade. You know me.
well spoken, Chris.
All right, so let's get back to Candus here. Oh, okay. I was just I'm teasing you. The dog's gonna attack me. So this is the scaffolding you're talking about.
Yeah, that's my that's
okay, so she comes up, jumps up, and goes right in.
Yep.
Okay. How many cats? You know what? You should have like a zoo license. You know, I'm seeing all kinds of critters, which is good. Okay, where's Summer's bed?
Oh, it's in the basement.
Got it. Okay. So what happens when she comes in? The boys are playing where?
No, the boys are actually sitting here.
Okay.
And they're actually sitting right here at the table watching TV.
Okay, so they're at the table watching TV. Okay.
They were all locked in. Nobody could get in. Nobody could get out. Kind of thing.
Now, who's this on up here? That's what nobody get in, nobody get out. Well, there goes the door open theory.
Right. She just totally defeated that narrative right there.
Yeah. It's history. For sure.
Yeah.
It's history. Okay. Here.
That's my little sister that's missing.
Oh, that's Rose.
That's Rose.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Wow. And who's the guy?
That's her ex-husband.
Wow. Do you think he had anything to do with that?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, we don't want to go there.
Can't say.
How's your mom deal with that?
It's difficult.
Yeah, I know. You know I know, right? So, okay, watching TV, where's Summer?
Summer, she was with me.
Okay, so she had to think about that almost.
She did. Yeah.
Walk me through that.
All right, well, we walked up in here and we got Josie, Wyatt, and Waylon, the boys.
Right, you put the groceries down, right?
Yeah, well, we went back out and then we brought the groceries in and put them down. And then Mom, she took her stuff to her house to put her stuff away.
Okay.
And then, of course, me and Summer went back over, put our stuff away.
Okay. You went back in?
Yeah, me and Summer went back in the house. And then we were just doing normal stuff.
Okay.
Around the house like we normally do.
Go.
Here we go.
I could go.
That's exactly what I was talking about at the beginning of the show when we were talking about the scripting language. And again, if, as a parent, your daughter is missing, you're going to recall all those details of that day, especially all the funny and fond things and endearing things. Why couldn't she say what she and Summer did? And she doubled up on this, Chris. She said, and then we were just doing normal stuff around the house like we normally do. She said it twice, normal. And it's just, Chris, that is just one of those signs that we recognize. That's what people will do when they don't want to say what actually occurred that day or during that time. And so they will just say it was what we usually do. It's what we normally do. Or they'll describe something that's normal or the usual. And in this case, she doubled up on that word. So I know this is highly sensitive. She's really trying to drive that narrative. And the narrative is, please believe me that we were doing normal stuff on it like we would do any normal day. So please believe me that nothing else was going on. It was just the norm. Yet I don't want to tell you what we actually did. There's a reason why, and I want to keep that hidden, keep that locked up. I don't want you to know. But what she's doing here is she actually just raised the flag for us. Now that you know what to look for, she raised the flag, and it's like, oh, she doesn't want to tell us what she actually did. She wants to portray it as the normal. Anytime I hear that, it's 99 times out of 100, it's going to be anything but the norm. And she just raised that. So again, a big red flag right there. And it's adding to, this adds to everything that we've just talked about previously. The convincing that Summer jumped up, her angst and sensitivity about opening the doors up where Summer's at. She's trying to sell it, but she doesn't want to give us the detail about Summer. She's giving you a lot of other detail, walking you through and little details about the boys and everything. And that's probably all true. But she wants to leave out, for whatever reason, what she did with Summer. And so I don't like
good
it.
observation. Those are great observations. And from an investigative standpoint, guys, so that you guys know, this becomes a treasure trove for the detectives working this case, because they not only have locked her into a story her first couple of interviews, okay, and that's what we used to say, lock them in. Okay. And whether it's a truth or if it's a lie, it doesn't matter. It's all evidence in a court of law. It all comes in because it's behavioral evidence, and they can argue, in pretrial motions and stuff, what is, hearsay and all this other stuff. And then a judge will go through it and kick what comes in and what doesn't come in. But all of this from an investigative perspective, those investigators right now can watch this video 500 times and they can dovetail off of this video, because we're not part of the investigation. We just happen to be trained in these kind of problems and have a YouTube channel. Okay, so they're sitting back eating popcorn going, did you guys just hear what she said? Yeah. Okay. How does that match to the other things she said? Right. Okay. So, all of the YouTube attorneys, as I call them. Okay. You guys are going to be really surprised. You'll be really surprised if any of this gets press play in court, and the jury's, looking at it going, well, why did she say that when she said this, when it really counted, okay, to TBI. Okay. This just is, so this is just a bonus. And what Steve just said there, this obsolete information, or stuff that just kind of she throws out, good catch, Steve. I'm going to keep moving for the sake of time here, because I want people to have a chance to ask you questions. And I'm not going to drag this on for 3 hours. Like, you're like, but I do want people to ask you some questions. And just so everybody knows, if you haven't seen your super chat or anything up yet, don't worry. I'm going to do it at the end. I've got them all. I'm marking them and putting them up. So if you have a question in there, we'll get that answered. Okay. We appreciate all 5,200 of you being here tonight, and watching. So hit that subscribe button, and hopefully you'll share this as we go along here.
And I come out, Mom was sitting there at the time I come out, and I'm standing here. Okay. I was like, what are you doing? What are you staring at? She's like, these plants, I gotta get them transplanted. I was like, well, Summer will help us. So I went back in. By that time, she was sitting on the floor playing with her toys.
Right here?
No, in the kitchen where we were just at.
Okay.
She was actually sitting on the floor playing with her toys at that time.
Now, that's interesting, because later on in the narrative, right, she was, her brother said, well, she's down in the basement to play with her toys. Okay. So this must be another set of toys in the kitchen. up on, not in the basement. Which, is this the first time she has to process, that piece of potentially the script? If that's true, then she has two sets of toys, one in the basement where she allegedly went, and then one up in the kitchen where she was playing with those toys when mom wants to plant flowers here with grandma.
Yeah. Hold on. The key word in there, she used the word actually again. And that's one of those words that O.J. Simpson used.
I gotta go back here. Hang on. I missed that completely. Hang on. That's awesome.
I was actually sitting on the floor playing with the toys at that time. I said, Summer, you want to help plant flowers?
Back it up.
Yeah, let me go back. I got it. Okay, I'm going to start from here.
I come out
Good catch, man.
Okay. I was like, what are you doing? What are you staring at? She's like, these plants, I got to get them transplanted. I was like, well, Summer will help us. So I went back in. By that time, she was sitting on the floor playing with her toys.
Right here?
No, in the kitchen where we were just at.
Okay.
She was actually sitting on the floor playing with her toys at that time. I said,
she's actually sitting on the floor. Wow.
Yeah. So it's, I mean,
dude, that is a good catch.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so subtle. And I've probably watched this thing 10 times, 15 times.
Yeah. And there's even more in there that she said that I'm just, for the sake of time, not calling out. But I mean, her quoting her conversation with her mom, she can quote that, but she couldn't quote anything from Summer or tell you what Summer was doing. And so we compare the two. It's like you said, is we're looking for patterns, and so it all adds up. That thing about Summer being right there, that actually, it's one of those words. It's a dependent word. It means it's there has to be another thought. She's comparing it to something else, and it's one of those things, like I said, that O.J. Simpson used in his narrative, and when he was lying. And it's one of those words that gets used a lot. I'm not saying that everybody that uses it is lying. Don't go think that. But in the context, and put it all together, and if you know what to look for and listen for in this context, it's a big deal.
Interesting.
Summer, you want to help plant flowers? And she jumped up, left her toys a mess, of course. That's cool.
Okay, right there.
Well, that's what kids do.
Hold up.
Job.
What?
Okay.
Chris, hold up a second. Remember, did you hear her? She said, and she jumped up, left her toys a mess, of course. And so there's more denigration towards Summer. So this now I'm seeing that. I've seen it at least twice now. This subtle dig towards Summer instead of reflecting on, the positive things and the endearing things. It's a subtle dig towards Summer. So now it makes that trait that we're seeing that in her language, it's stronger now because she's done it at least twice. Since you've been there, and it's just, it's an alarming thing that for an investigator to hear, and we see it or hear it a lot when we hear a lot of victim blaming, particularly in more violent cases, and so this goes right along with that,
which is almost blaming. For a child, we wouldn't expect this as much in a child case as to your point, maybe an SA adult or something to that effect, or something pretty crazy, right?
Right.
Yeah, interesting, because she's, again, let's remind our viewers, she's only 3 weeks into the baby's disappearance, and she's thrown her under the bus here, is what I'm hearing you say. This is a good catch.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Well, and she recently said that I got to get the boys back, and she left Summer completely out of the conversation. Meaning I think she qualified it with, that Summer's not around here anymore. And that's your team member. The night that happened, flew it over and That's the one
Yeah,
you sent.
that was,
you heard
yeah,
this?
shout out to Cheryl on my team that she's the one that sent that over. She caught that. So that was
Good
a
job,
really
Cheryl.
good catch.
Nice. There you go. Employee of the month.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks caught it on YouTube. I mean, the moment she said it, the chats and everything just lit up. And, I think people are starting to understand my style. I kind of sit back and take it all in, and that way,
That's the way you should.
Yeah, you don't write prescriptions before you diagnose.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to keep moving.
We walked over here and we transplanted these cactuses from the little pots that they were in.
And they're cactus. And that story's changed twice because it was, cactus in these buckets here. And the other one was, flowers out in front of the house.
Flowers, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got two, locations. And I guess we could, argue that, okay, those could be called flowers, from somebody, or maybe grandma calls them flowers, but okay. Well, she describes them as cactus.
Transplanted these ones here into this bigger pot and that one into that bigger pot. And she took the rocks that we've gotten from different gem mines when we went up to Gatlinburg and stuff.
Okay.
And she's the one that spreaded all the rocks around in here. And then she put her puppy.
So it's grandma's idea to plant these things, and it's Summer's idea on decorating them.
She's in here. She wanted Chase in there,
Okay.
That was cool.
Where are those puppies now?
What do you mean?
Oh, the little puppies, her real ones.
Yeah, these little.
Oh, yeah, those little guys. Oh, that's Paw Patrol.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the police one.
Yep, that's Chase. He's always on the case.
Okay. Okay. Oh, I see another one over here.
She put him in there. Yeah, you're on the cactus.
Okay. Don't take those out, okay?
No, I leave them right there.
I know.
And then we went in my mom's where we can't get in there.
Yeah, that's fine. Went in there.
We went in there and got some candy and stuff she gets from grandma.
Okay.
And I said, well, I'm going to go back over to the house. She wanted to go back, so I figured I'd go back,
Okay.
And I brought her, I literally walked over to here. Like literally walked right to here where I could see the boys and on the kitchen table.
Got them.
And I watched her walk in there, and afterwards, when she was already in there, I walked over and I said, "Quiet." And he looked at me and I said, "Watch Sissy, I'll be right back." And that's when I walked back over to my mom's.
Okay.
And I was fixing her brace and stuff like that. And I said, "Well, Mom, I got to go back over with the kids." And that's when I come back up into the house.
Okay.
With the boys.
Okay.
Not that.
You walked into the house.
I walked into here. Get up. I walked in here and them three were sitting right here in row with their eyes glued to the TV, like always. And I said, "Boys, where's your sister at?" Well, she just went downstairs, Mom, to play. So I went over here like this.
Hey, Chris, hold up a second. There's so much in there.
I know.
I mean,
I
there's
knew your brain
so
was
much
going
in there.
I know.
I'm gonna back up just a little bit. Back to where she said that she was out with her mom and Summer's out there, and she said Summer, put those rocks and stuff in there, and that probably did happen. Not necessarily that day, but it probably was something. And she didn't say necessarily it was that day. She just said Summer's the one that decorated all this or put these rocks in here, and she probably did. But we don't know when that actually occurred. But what stood out to me about that conversation right there, and she tells her mom, she's quoting to you what she said to her mom, this conversation, instead of just telling you, "Hey, I helped my mom, and then I went over and I took Summer back in the house." She's giving this quote, which slows down. It slows down the narrative, meaning I'm going to give you all. I really did say this to my mom, and so I'm going to tell you all this information, and I'm avoiding getting to this latter part because I don't want to get there. So I'm gonna spend more time on this and even quote quote conversation. It slows it down. And so when I start hearing that, you know, I kind of perk up and I start listening to what's coming. And what she said was, she said, well, I'm going to go back over to the house. She's telling her mom this. She wanted to go back. So I said I'd go back. You know, that right there is, she's qualifying this again. She's giving you a reason why she's going to go back. And in fact, she needs to convince you so much of that she gave you an unnecessary reason for doing that Summer wanted to go back. So I said I'd go back with her. That not only is she's qualifying why she's going back to the house, but she's building herself up. She wanted to go back, so I said I'd go back. So I'm a good mom, and I said I'd go back with her. Okay, and I start seeing, this is the good mom rule, good mom principle, we call it. And when I hear that, I start taking note, because more times than not, when I hear people describe themselves as a good mom, they're usually not good moms. and so this is subtle, and I'm not going to make a big deal out of this right here, but I'm thinking, well, this is a possibility. She might be building herself up right here. Now listen to what she says. She says, and I literally walked over to here, like literally. Okay, twice now she's used that word literally. She's selling this to you. She really wants you to believe that she walked over to that point. High sensitivity right here. She's giving you she prefaced it with an unnecessary reason for doing it, because Summer wanted to go back. And so I said I'd walk her back. And then I literally walked over to here, like literally walked right to here where I could see the boys around the kitchen table. Okay. So this qualification with the reason why and the word literally repeated tells me that this is likely part of the scripted narrative. Why is she trying to? Because she's selling it too hard. Yeah, she's really selling this. And she says, and I watched her walk in there. Okay. And afterwards, when she was already in there, I walked over and said, Wyatt. And he looked at me. Why the need to say that he looked at me? I mean, can you see the I know you see it, the detail that she's giving to sell this narrative. But what was missing before is actual narrative about, or actual detail about Summer and their actions, their interactions, and what's Summer saying? Tell me what I would like to hear. What did Summer say during all this? I haven't heard one thing of what Summer said. But I've got now detail and conversation with Mama. And I've got detail now, or conversation with Wyatt and what Wyatt did. I said, Wyatt, and he looked at me. And I said, watch Sissy, I'll be right back. So now I've got this detail. Noticeably missing is the detail about conversation with Summer and detail about what she was doing. And she says, and that's when I walked back over to my mom's, and I was fixing her brace and stuff like that. And I said, well, Mom, I got to go back over with the kids. And that's when I come back into the house, up into the house with the boys. Okay. Wasn't Summer in the house, but she left her out. I walked into here, and them three were sitting right here where they're always at. This is the normal factor, okay? The normal, where they're always at, with their eyes glued to the TV, like always. Here we have it again. She's selling this as the normal, what normally happens. So please believe me that this is what actually occurred that day. And I said, boys, again, quoting, where's your sister at? Well, now this is the boys, allegedly the boys responding to her. Well, she just went downstairs, Mom. And she's going to tell us that these boys actually gave her a reason why she went downstairs: to play. Well, she went downstairs, Mom, to play. It's likely if the boys actually said anything, they would say, she went downstairs. They're not going to say the reason why she went downstairs. This is Candus. This is her narrative. This is the script. This is how I know that part of this is scripted. This is one of those things that I have highlighted as a huge sensitivity area, because she's providing reason why after qualification and the normal and portraying this as what normally happens, lack of detail about any conversation with Summer compared to detail with conversation with her mom and her son Wyatt. And I don't like it. This is a huge area for investigators to focus on. In the end, obviously, I mean, they know that, but this verifies that she has huge sensitivity here, and this is what we're talking about when we look for scripting. This is it right here.
Yeah, no, and you and I have talked obviously behind the scenes a lot, but this is one of those areas where, you've nailed some very subtle things. But my concern, when I first heard all of this, that the impression I was getting was, I don't think this happened.
Mm-hmm.
And, she's selling it, not, like salesman of the month here.
Yeah.
And, now, in retrospect, looking back at this and you and I talking and you pointing out all of these great observations and, some of the things that I was thinking through, but, I still am 100% on board with your thought process here, that holy smokes, and she even says, well, actually, right. And even you pointed that out, talking
Yeah.
about going back downstairs, it's like a overqualification statement again. And what bothered me was the toys. You've got a set of toys downstairs. And then she had said, 5 minutes before that, or whatever the timing is, don't beat me up on that, guys. Okay, we're flowing here. And, but she's playing with toys. Okay, well, it's almost as if, well, I thought she was, playing here why wouldn't she have just gone back into, with the toys? Why all of a sudden does this kind of grow into, I got to put her down in the basement? And when she's down in the basement, she vanishes.
Right.
With a big question mark. Well, so yeah, no, this is with a one-way mirror on that window, by the way, for the door. And go ahead.
Part of that, what we're seeing here, I mentioned that she's providing unnecessary detail, providing details of conversation and things like that. And along with this scripting, she keeps going with this and trying to sell it hard. But what she's doing is she's creating time. She needs to create time to make her narrative that Summer was taken, to make it believable, to make it make sense. And she can't do that unless she creates time. And so she's slowing down the pace of the statement, meaning she's padding it with either things that are made up or unnecessary detail or detail about what they normally would do, not necessarily what they did that day, but this unnecessary detail. But Summer is absent in all that. She went back in with the boys, not back in with the kids, which would include Summer, just the boys. She slipped. She knows, her brain knows, and it gave her away right there. But she's creating this time which she needs to give the alleged unknown suspect time to get up to the property and snatch Summer. And she needs Summer to be down in that basement, because that's the only conceivable way that somebody could have snatched her, although everybody was locked in. All the doors were locked and nobody could get in or nobody could get out. So
Yep.
Explain that away. That's it. Again, that doesn't make sense. And we're going to see more sensitivity about that coming up. But she has to paint the story. And that's what she's trying to do here. It's just classic scripted language. And so you're in there with her and you're listening to this, and it's not sitting right with you. The situation you were in right then, is a situation where you have to keep the words flowing. You have to keep her going and keep her showing you. And so you're playing this little chess game here and trying to stay one step ahead, and you're not interviewing her to get a confession, right here. And so you're just wanting her to keep showing you, and you're showing her the respect and hoping that she'll tell you what needs to be said. And it's just interesting. I love hearing that you say that you had that thought in the back of your mind that I don't think this really happened, because a lot of us, even for all you listeners, I know you've had times when you've been listening to somebody speak, and in the back of your mind, you're thinking, this doesn't sound right. I don't think I believe this, what I'm being told here. But there might be some emotion thrown in or something else. And it sounds, okay, well, they said that, and I know that's true, so I'm going to believe everything else. And we get convinced. And that's the whole thing here, is that there's ways to defeat that. There's ways to overcome that flawed listening, of falling into those traps of, in everyday conversation with whoever it is. There's ways to do that. And that's what we're pointing out here, is these are all the indicators of how to do that. And so you're right, Chris. This is a treasure trove of information for the investigators to use. Where were you where was your YouTube show, Chris, when I was investigating cases? I would have loved to have you interview some of my suspects and have an interview on YouTube.
We used to send them all to you guys. We used to send our bad guys, put them on the 8 and push them towards Phoenix. You guys have just left. You just left San Diego County. Have a great day. Go to Phoenix.
Yeah, bye. I know you guys did. I dealt with those people.
They still do. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
Well, not to get lost, but this is. I think this really, to your point, at this phase, she is locking in here even further than, because well, hopefully I don't know, but you and I both know that this is investigations 101. And hopefully they walked her through this. I know the feds, the card team probably said, well, walk us through this. Okay. And they videotaped it. Well, the good news is, guys and gals, all of us, right, is when the cops do get this and they have it, they've had it for whenever I first posted it. And I also sent them some data that they to our point, when we're working active investigations and it's like, they did what? Yeah, they were on YouTube. You got to be kidding me. Beautiful. Okay. So you realize they don't have to go out and talk to them again, because they've got them in public doing this, and we've got them this piece of the puzzle, and many others. It's like, I keep saying this, but it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh,
why do we do this? Because it is about Summer. It's not about Candus or Don. Okay. They are the parents of this child. It is 100% about Summer Wells evaporating. Okay. And for folks that can't catch that vision yet, okay, at some point, folks are going to wake up and go, they've either done A, B, C, or D, or they found, this or that. But, everybody's going to look back and realize, wow, what happens next? Okay. So, keep an open mind still, but at the same time, just remember this whole house here belonged to Summer Wells. Okay? She lived there. And this, in technical terms, if she was taken out of that basement, that's the crime scene.
Yeah.
That's the crime scene. So here's a question. Well, how come we're not getting more information about that crime scene being processed as a whole? Because I can tell you, I talked to people that were there. And I have some things that I will never say because it would compromise something. Okay. But I will also tell you this, and Steve and I think would agree because we, have both talked to Coop and others, that I haven't left this house yet. And when I say that, I'm not saying an accident didn't occur someplace else, but there's also a possibility it could have occurred right here in this house. And so those both have to be on the table. Okay. And, maybe all this other stuff starts to make sense. At some point, it will. There's bits and pieces of the truth that come through this, but I want to keep moving for the sake of time here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Unless there's something else you want to say, Stephen. I apologize.
Let's keep going.
Okay.
It's actually down under there.
Oh, down into her.
Down.
I was literally shocked.
I'll bet you were.
Because I'm thinking, why is she pointing underneath this bar thing or this, whatever it was, this table? I did not expect to see a hole with a stairwell down into this dungeon, ultimately. Okay.
I think we all were shocked.
Our bedroom
when we
and
saw
then hers
that.
is on the other side.
Oh, okay, in the basement.
Yeah, in the basement.
Well, this makes sense now, see?
And then I yelled and I said, Summer. And she didn't. I listened for a minute. I didn't hear nothing. So I went like this. Because this is how I always get down here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to come down here or not.
Do I got to be tiny to get in there?
No, you should.
Can we come in from the other side?
Well, we can, but it'd make more sense if you.
The first thing I was thinking, take a guess.
I bet you were thinking, am I going to get ambushed down here?
Yeah, and exactly. And I'm HR 218, so I'm like, I left my gun in the truck. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I did not expect this, it's like climbing through a tunnel in Vietnam. Where's my 45?
Yeah.
And I was like, holy cow, here we go.
I feel you.
Okay. I'll follow you. Oh man. Good grief,
No, I know if my 6-foot husband can fit down here, you can.
Huh? Look how dark it is.
6 foot. I know if he can fit, you can.
This. Oh my gosh. Way to go.
This is mine.
Did you hear what I said? Way to go. I didn't realize I said that, but I'm thinking, way to go. I'm like, oh my goodness. And then I saw the TV and I was like, please don't let that be porn. In my head, right? And I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah.
And then I guess it was like Girls Gone Wild garbage. So everybody was down. I didn't even know what it was. Okay. I didn't know what it was, but that, I'm a pretty, good, big guy trying to get through that hole there. It was probably maybe 18, 19 inches wide. And she's like qualifying it. You hear her at the bottom. Well, my husband makes it through here and he's 6, whatever it is. And I'm thinking, yeah, but I ate a lot of donuts in my career. I gotta get down these steps here. And then simultaneously I'm thinking, okay, what do we have here? What, and I'm not showing it obviously, meaning verbalizing it, but you heard me when I said, oh boy. Okay.
Right.
I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is the basement or dungeon or whatever. They called it a basement at first, but quite frankly, it is a dungeon. Okay. And what kept going through my head was Dawn's statement on the news. I see her in a dungeon. Okay. And he talks about being tortured or being hurt. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I remember I left my wife in the car. I left Karen in the car. I wouldn't let her come in. I said, you wait right here. Keep your camera right there on that shed. Cause I didn't know what was in that shed either. Okay. And anyway, so I get down there and I'm thinking, holy cow, is this what he's describing?
Right.
Is he describing this place?
You know what, Chris, I'm totally in line with your thought process there. And because that word dungeon is such an odd word for someone to use, unless you're in something like that where you literally have to go down the rabbit hole to get into this dark place that has the feel of being in the dungeon.
Yep.
And then it comes to light. That is just so enlightening. And if for your listeners, your viewers, if you go back and you watch that interview, that breakdown we did with Don, it's disturbing. And
Yeah.
the things that were coming out of his brain via his mouth, it's just flat disturbing. And so I think that he kind of was, not kind of, he was describing their own house there. And that's typical. When something is made up, they will take a real incident, a real description, whether it's a place or a person. They'll describe someone that they saw or a place that they've been, that they're familiar with, and that comes out in their description. And so it's very common. And
And
it
if we
sheds a
look
lot of
back,
light.
right? Yeah,
What's that?
and if we look back
Yeah.
at some of the behaviors that we've seen out of him post this, okay, it makes a lot of sense of how
Yeah.
violent he can be emotionally, physically, mentally, and really directed at women. I mean, when he talks to women, I have to, every time I hear him, just explode on women, I think to myself, look at this environment that he is contained in. And this is the middle of the day, by the way, right? And look at how much light just coming down into that stairwell. Okay, the only light coming in is through that window, and it's a one-way type of mirror type of glass. Okay, like the old observation rooms.
Yeah.
Okay? It's the same mirror. It's the same window type. And I thought to myself, okay, when they were doing the media interviews, and even before that, he had made the comment, how do you see her? How do I see her? Well, this, and then I see her buried somewhere. And I have not let that go and up here. And I know you haven't, because, we've done this now a couple of times. And the whole reason we wanted to just to see where this goes, to see if more information comes. Okay. And now, your team can now, what I mean, do some things as more information starts to flow on, what's out there.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping, again, this is another opportunity. I just want to interject. I hope Candus is seeing this again and goes back and says, okay, I need to tell them more. I need to tell TBI more. There's more.
Yeah.
My husband's room.
Okay.
And over here, well, it's a mess again.
That's all right.
But this is where Summer and
When I looked back into that corner back there, there's one light bulb. There was one light bulb back there. Don's side, the other side, which is a wall, it's pitch black in the very back. I couldn't even see back there. And I didn't know if he was even back there somewhere. And I tell this story, I'm not going to, beat it, but there was like a 15-20 minute delay before we got to the house. And I thought, both Karen and I thought, oh, she's calling Don, giving him a heads up. So anyway,
Wow.
So here we are in Summer's bedroom.
little Waylon was, because Waylon's only 9.
Okay.
And they stayed down here. And these are all her toys, all her Paw Patrols,
All her movies. There's the light bulb right up there in the right hand, just to the right. See the plug going in?
I see it. Yeah.
That's
That
it.
really is that's a good description, like a dungeon.
Yeah, it's a dungeon. It really is. It really is. And they had, it sounded like they had left her toys just the way it was, because they're in the very corner, in the right corner back there. It's completely disheveled. It looked like a lot of those CDs and stuff have been taken off the shelves. There were some religious CDs in there. I attributed that to Don based on, his narratives that we've heard. And, but they were intermingled with her toys, these little things in there. But this place was filthy. No child, none should have ever been in this environment. That's her bed back there in the corner, and it's in the corner. Another control mechanism. I've not said that before because I didn't want to, but that's her bed back there, and it's in that position. And Steve and anybody else, that's done this business for a long time knows that's the deepest part of the room. And that is a control mechanism of cornering that child. That's what they're doing. They're cornering her into that part of the room. The advantage to that for them is the escape route becomes more difficult to get out because they could hear her now, potentially, coming right through the crack between their bedroom and that door. If it was closer to where the bunk beds are, the boys are a barrier for Summer. And this goes back to the statement that Don makes. I told those boys, how many times have I told them, keep an eye on Summer? Well, what they've done is, and this is the first time you're hearing me say this, guys, but what they have done is they have put the boys in a position of advantage over Summer. Because if they're sleeping in the bunk beds, which she says they are, this is where Wyatt and the other, their other boy sleep. Well, what they're doing is they're actually acting as guards for Summer. Okay. Why is that? Why is that? I have my theories, and maybe she'll give us some more insight here, but this is this 5-year-old little baby's room. She's just not jumping up and running outside anytime she wants. That ain't happening. And nobody's coming in to this environment. Yeah. If she's playing in that corner, knowing that she's in there, quote, playing with her toys, that ain't happening. Steve, what say you? I don't want to go too far.
No, I'm totally in line with your thought process. And I'm going to kind of spin it a little bit different here. Mm-hmm. We know from Candus has told us that her favorite place was outside on that swing, and that she had toys that were upstairs, right? I mean, it looked like there were toys everywhere. I can't really, from just watching, I can't differentiate between toys and just other stuff that's laying around, but there's probably toys upstairs. I don't know why any 5-year-old little girl would want to play down in the dark crevice down there and not versus being outside or up with her brothers playing toys there and company. We are, as human beings, we're social. We like to be around people. And, my office is upstairs, and I would rather be downstairs with other people around and hearing, other voices and whatnot. And it's just human nature. We like the light. We like to be outside, especially if it's, a nice day out. That's where the kids are going to want to be. And so it just, it doesn't make a lot of sense that she would want to be down in that dark crevice down there playing by herself.
Yeah. And the lights, we don't even know if the lights were on, right? I mean, here we are, 2 adults going down those stairs, and she's not anticipating the lights being on. Okay.
Yeah.
She's got a movie about the Savior.
The boys I brought back down here after she went missing because I didn't want them upstairs by themselves anymore. Okay. And this is all her toys. All her toys. All these toys that are down here are dang near all hers, except for like the trucks and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the game system. That's the boys'.
Okay.
But them are all her toys. And
she's really into Paw Patrol. I see that.
Yeah, I've been collecting from day one. And these are all her little ponies that I've bought. And then these are them girls that she likes. Them new fashion, I don't know what they are, little princesses or whatever. She's like all kinds of, here's one of them bracelets.
Oh, that's just one of them, what do they call these? Oh, this is a Little Pony bracelets.
Yeah, I don't know what they were really called, but she liked them, and so I just every time I go to the garage sale, I'd buy her what she wanted.
Okay.
You know, whenever I got a little bit of money, I spend it on the kids.
Yeah, this is her. This is. I understand her now.
Yeah.
Even better. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is really important.
But yeah, I come down and I searched. I looked up underneath the beds under there. We can't really get on. I can't get under there.
Yeah.
But I looked under there, looked under every blanket I could possibly look under.
Yep.
And then I come over here and I looked on both sides. I didn't see her nowhere. And I don't recall if this was locked or not. I don't recall that.
Okay.
But I know, it's hard on me. But I know.
What say you on that, Steve?
Well, it's a direct contradiction to nobody could get in, nobody could get out. And she pushed that narrative twice so far, and this is a direct contradiction to that. And I'm going to add something else in here too. What she was saying about Summer liking the Paw Patrol things, and she says something to the effect of, you know, I know she likes them, so every time I go to the garage sale, I buy them for her. When I get any extra money, I spend it on the kids. And here we have her building herself up as a good mother. And you know, mothers that are good mothers, they don't have to tell everyone that they're a good mother. They just simply are. And anytime I hear someone portraying herself as a good mother, I take note. And Chris, if you, to contrast the language of, I believe it was Brandy Vaughn. Is that her name? Brandy, the first?
Yes, Brandy is Michael Vaughn's
contrast
mom.
Brandy's language to Candus's language. You will not hear, it's totally different. And you don't hear Brandy talking about what a good mother she is in any way. Her focus is, what's Michael experiencing? How's he doing? Please bring him home. Her love, adoration, the concern for Michael, nothing about building herself up to be a good mother. And I love that. And that tells me that Brandy is likely a very good mother.
Yeah, she's a great mom. Yeah,
it's very different than this narrative right here that we're hearing.
Yep, for sure. And yeah, I know you've picked up a lot more, so I'm gonna keep moving because I want to get folks to get some questions to you.
Because sometimes she'll sit right here and just sit here and play, just for, you know. And usually when she comes out and she goes directly that way up to the swing.
Oh, okay, so this is like
hold up right there.
Will she come running out?
Let me call something out right there. She's selling this to you again, selling this narrative. She says, I know I did come out here and I said, Summer. And she gave you a reason for saying that. She doesn't have to give you a reason for calling for Summer. This is what we expect that she would do. I expect the language to be that I was yelling at the top of my lungs for Summer, but she doesn't have to explain why she did that. The explanation is what weakens it, because it's something that any mother would do, any parent would do. They're going to be frantic and looking for their 5-year-old. But she had to explain it. She says, Summer, because sometimes she'll sit right here and just sit here and play. So she qualified why she would have yelled Summer. And that's totally unexpected. And it's one of those things that it tells me that she is trying to sell this. She's trying hard to sell it. And I have to ask, why is she trying to sell it so hard? She shouldn't have to. There's no reason to sell it unless there is a reason. And so it tells me she has to sell this because this is not likely what happened. This is scripted, more scripted language right here. So, and let me add to this, this selling things as what they normally do or what they usually do. she did that again, and she actually used the word usual. She said, and usually when she comes out and goes directly that way up to the swing. And so she's going back to this, selling it as, what normally would happen, meaning, and what she's doing there, she's saying, she's selling that Summer would sit right there, because usually she'll come out this door and she'll go up this way, and sometimes she'll sit right here and play. And this is the normal thing that she would do. So it says oversell, and she doubled up on this oversell. And so that just tells me, you were right, Chris, that when you felt that this didn't really happen, it didn't really happen, because and the reason I know that is because she's overselling it. And that's not the norm.
And the toys seem to be part of that, dovetail. She qualifies, the toys in the kitchen, the toys in the, the box in the basement, the toys in the corner, and now the toys outside the door, where these are the three possibilities of where she plays. Okay? Yeah. And then of course the four, and now you have the swing, which is her favorite, which is typical for her to run up that, path there. And you can see where, she's probably run that path 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But she, to what you're saying, she pauses these moments, which, I agree with you. She's in a full sell mode here. And
yeah, she really is.
I wasn't tracking it. I really wasn't. And, to hear you say that, really, it's interesting to hear your own observations, because, I not only respect you immensely, that, but, I being of who we are and what we've done in our past, I think this is going to be interesting at some point to find out what really happened here.
Yeah. And to your point, Chris, it's difficult for anybody, even people that are trained in what I do. It's difficult to track everything as you're hearing it. There's too much to do it. And I have at times when I was doing interviews, I would hear something and it would click in my brain that something wasn't right there. And I'd actually have to take a break and go out and rewind the video and listen to and break it down real quick as to what they actually said. And it's usually because they throw in too much of it all at one time. Mm-hmm. And we just don't process naturally that quick, unless you do hundreds of them over and over and over, and then you can pick it up a little bit easier. But this is why I train law enforcement and criminal investigators and corporate and now the public, because you'll miss it unless you know what to listen for. Even the best of us, myself included, if there's a lot, it's really hard to keep tracking that as you're going along. And you did a great job, and you just kept her talking. So hats off to you, because now this is a great piece of evidence for the investigators to use and make their case and present in court. And so this is fantastic.
And Debbie points out here, and I don't know if you heard this, but they did give away all her toys. They gave them all away.
Wow.
Right? I mean, you can't make that up.
Yeah. No, you can't. Make it up. No.
So, okay, I'm keep moving. We're almost, you can see the path here.
Right to the swing.
Right. You can see where she could have run right up to
here.
And
this is all the further she would go. She wouldn't leave.
Okay.
She wouldn't go nowhere else.
Okay. I want to go around this side. What is this blue thing here?
Oh, that was, we were putting trash in it.
Okay.
And we did have a trash man at the time, but he stopped running.
Oh, wow. Watch, she locks the door. Okay. I'm going to film around this side. Now walk me through, what's this little
oh, that right there?
Little cave thing there.
That's not really a cave. Actually, we built this addition, me and Donnie and the kids.
Oh, okay. Okay, I think from here, I think everybody and you tell me, is there something really dramatic on the other side here? I know I've got all your notes, but I want to She never denied the relationship with Hunter. You caught that.
Yeah.
And is there any feel important that you would want to tell the world I haven't asked you? How does she answer, Steve? The second of the
She
last
answered
point?
yeah, that was a great question. I'm so glad you asked that. That was her opportunity now to reflect back on her fondest thoughts about Summer. And she could hardly say anything. That just floored me, that she hardly said anything. In fact, she started with, not really. Not really. And then she dropped the pronoun I, meaning she psychologically ejected herself from this thought process, from the language. She said, just hope that everybody's looking for her, that we can find her and bring her home safely. She was very precious to me, in the past tense. Folks, that is a huge thing. This has only been a few weeks since Summer disappeared. And for her to process 3 weeks, man, for her to process already, that tells me that she has knowledge that Summer is not coming back. And it's just so that's Chris, you talk about red flags, big red flag. She did it at the water hole when you were talking to her. She referred to Summer in the past tense there as well. And I was taken back. Oh, that's not good. I think she did it twice. And
Keep
now she's
talking.
doing it
I
again.
got to go do something real fast. Keep talking. Go ahead.
Okay. And so Candus, you would expect when she's given this last opportunity to talk about her daughter, that she would talk about the fondest things about Summer. I just want everybody to know how sweet she is, and I hope that she's being taken care of. And whoever has her, whoever you are, make sure that she has her teddy bear, and make sure, and if she needed any medications, please, make sure she has this medication, or bring her back, because she needs this. And I want them to know how much I love her and I miss her, and I want her back, all in the present tense, without any processing that there's anything in the past tense that there's no chance that Summer's not coming back. 3 weeks is way too soon for any parent to process that their beloved little 5-year-old is not coming back. Like I said before, if you contrast this language with the language of Brandy Vaughn regarding her son Michael, who's missing, it is much different. It's all present tense, going to find her, find him, looking for the answers. I hope he's being taken care of and fed, and all these things that we expect from a mother, and all these, because mothers are going to be concerned, and they're not going to give up that hope. There's always hope. And 3 weeks, my goodness, if you hear somebody processing by referring to their loved one, especially a little 5-year-old, in the past tense in a 3-week period of time, that's a huge red flag. I've worked cases, or I've worked cases that have been many years old. In fact, I had one lady that I didn't work this case. It was actually occurred when I was a rookie cop, and I didn't know anything about it then. But years later, she was in a class I was teaching, and when we were talking about this motherly instinct and referring in the past tense, she came up afterwards and she said, my daughter was killed 20 years ago by her babysitter, and I still to this day I just can't process it. I can't leave her, can't let her go. I still refer to her as if she's still living, and that's a common thing. Not everyone does that, but it's common. And so for 3 weeks, goodness sakes, it's way too soon to refer to her in the past tense. Chris, I can't hear you.
Sorry.
There we go.
I want to get to some of the folks here. Lee here, who would put some, a question up here. And thank you, Lee, for your kindness. How much does being under the influence of alcohol have on trying to interpret her speech? Steve, what do you think?
Well, that alcohol is just going to loosen up her brain. So she's not going to be as effective as at keeping the secret secret. And it's just going to reveal, she's going to give herself away a much easier under the influence of alcohol. Now, we're talking about, if you're talking about if Candus was under the influence at this point in time, she's very high functioning. She's functioning very well. In fact, you could probably hardly tell if she was under the influence,
Yeah,
unless
she didn't have anything on board that I could tell. But
there you go.
I've been wrong before, much.
So typically, people will, if they have to go down and take a polygraph and they're guilty, and they have to go take a polygraph, they'll drop the Xanny bars, the Xanax or the alcohol or some other drug to try and mask the deceptive indicators. But the polygraphists are pretty savvy to that, and they'll send them home. They won't do the polygraph then.
And that's what happened the first time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
right.
That's typical.
Yeah. So Mo, is there a chance of going back and re-interview her now that she is alone? Well, I would be honest with you, Mo. My first desire would have her to go into TBI and lay it out, and then she could come talk to me when she's done. That would be my first desire. So I hope that answers your question, and thank you for your kindness there. That's VV Courtney. Let's see. That's facts. My husband is a New Orleans police detective, and he said you're absolutely correct. I will thank your husband for his service, and thank you for your kindness. We're grateful for him, and I'm sure the folks down in New Orleans are grateful too. I used to know Mike down there. You're the superintendent down there. He's a really good guy. Let's see here. Suzanne, thank you. Steve, she jumped right up. Sticks out for me. Am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy at all. That should stick out. It stands out because that's convincing language right there. There should be no reason for her to say she jumped right up. So you caught that. It's one of those things that was not natural. When you heard it, it's because it's not natural. She was selling it. And most people would not have to sell that. They would just say, I got somewhere out of the car or out of the truck. And that would be it. But that was a convincing statement for you. So that's why it stood out.
Yeah, Courtney, maybe she put her in a car and drove off. Maybe that's what bothers her. Could be. We'll see. We'll find out. We're not exactly sure yet, right? Banjo Bowie. Love some of these names. Can you explore she woke up like nothing? Particularly the last word.
Oh, that was when she said that she jumped up like nothing. That was what Courtney was referring to. And she jumped up like nothing. And so that was doubling down on the sales technique, the like nothing. Like she was trying to sell it again. There was nothing to it, meaning that Summer was perfectly fine. And I'll tell you what, that language right there tells me that there was something. It was probably just the opposite. There was something. It wasn't nothing. It was something definite there. I think she had some angst about opening the car doors. I think that it not only told me that she's going to lie in the statement by stating that twice, but I think she had some angst about opening that car door, whether it was her own door or I don't know. I don't want to get into speculation, whatnot, but there was some angst about opening whatever door that was.
Interesting. Thank you, Abby. Get over to Steve's website down there and take his class. It's fascinating. It really is. I think it's, if you tell him you came from TIR, he's given a discount tonight. $79. What is it? $99. How much is it?
Yeah, it's $97. And for the next 2 weeks, I'll have it discounted, put TIR in the discount code and you'll get 20% off. So it's super affordable.
Steve, are you sure? You know,
Yeah.
I've
Next
never
2
had
weeks,
me
pal.
used as a discount code. I've had people call me names and get a discount, and then oh, thank you, Abby. You are so kind. We really appreciate it. Jack and Angie, no question tonight. I just want to say thank you to Chris and Steve, as well as your families, for lending your amazing knowledge to all of us learn. Love from ours to you. Semper Fi, great mods too. Thank you so much, Semper Fi. Appreciate your service and your family.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We are so grateful, and God bless those families over there right now having to deal with the problems that they're dealing with in Ukraine and all the those situations. We keep them in our prayers, and keep your family in our prayers too, fam. Any veteran, we love you. Thank you.
For sure.
Mandy, something isn't right here. My mom's senses aren't right. Yeah, great. Thank you for having those mom senses, right? And
Right.
we need more than that. And here's what my sweetheart said about you, Mandy. Thank you. We agree with you. Thank you for your support. Thank you, Karen. So grateful. Thank you, Cheryl. And from the UK over there, and our friends in Europe. Tea time for me. Love you. Thank you so much. A video picture of someone in the back of the truck verified to be from the day she was disappeared. Could it be from another day and used as an alibi? I don't know if the authorities, have the original with a timestamp on it. So I can't answer that, to be honest with you. One-way glass and one-way lock. No door handle from the outside, locked in or locked outside. Indeed. Yes. Yep. Thank you, Jen. So grateful. Here's a question. This channel is literally the first YouTube experience I've ever had. It is so well done. Well, we are so grateful for your kindness in saying that. I appreciate all these interviews so much. I didn't know I had to write the message before I brought it again. Hopefully you didn't have to do that twice. Just you being here is more than enough, and we're so grateful. Thank you for your kindness. Happy caffeinated couple. Good to see you. I love these guys. Do you think being on YouTube stream sharing her narrative will make her want to double down on it more versus share more info with TBI? Great question. What say you, Steve?
Well, it'd be really interesting to see how this plays out, because like we said earlier, I think she's watching this show and others, and it's going to influence her. It's going to influence what she does. And so if she sticks with the narrative, she has to double down. And but I hope that she does what's the healthy thing for herself and her family and for Summer, and just goes to the authorities with whatever knowledge that she has. That's by far the healthiest thing. And that will alleviate so much stress and having to double down and keep this narrative going. It'd be a huge deal for her.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to even try to fill that in, because that was a cool answer. And by the way, you guys, if you want to just ask a question, just ask a question too, or the fact that you're here again. Did she speak present tense about the boy? Steve, do you remember that one?
What more importantly, I think she spoke about what they did in the actions in the past tense, but she didn't refer to the boys in the past tense. And I don't think there was any past tense reference to the boys here. And if it was in reference, it was in the context of the boys were taken by CPS or whatever the agency is there, Child Protective Services. And so I don't remember for sure, but there was nothing that stood out like in comparison to the way she was referring to Summer, processing that Summer's not coming back.
So I want to find a quick question here from Hopper. Karen just sent me a question here, but it says, if I asked my boys where my daughter was and they said she's in her room playing, I wouldn't go check to see if she was there. What are your thoughts, Steve? And that's from Hopper. I'm trying to find it.
Yeah,
If you can't find it, we'll answer. Oh, here it is. Perfect. Thank you.
She's in her room playing. I wouldn't go check see if she was there. So I'm going to compare this to what she said about that, about what her boy, I think it was Wyatt, said. She said that Wyatt told her, and she quoted him, "Oh, she went downstairs, Mom, to play," and throw in a reason why she went downstairs. That's not the norm, especially for a kid. She would say it. They would say it just the way that you said it right there, Hopper. They said she's in her room playing. So the appropriate thing would be, I don't know, she went downstairs, Mom, or she's playing downstairs, something like that. It would be concise and simple, and it would be the path of least resistance. And there wouldn't be a reason why thrown in there, which that's what raises the level of stress.
And we clearly see that with Brandy, how she responds to, when she's asked about Michael. I mean, she's right on target without the oversell in it. It doesn't exist. We get closed caption. Go ahead.
Yeah, it is a great comparison.
So, what do you think of this from Meredith? Thank you, Meredith. It's great to see you tonight. We get closed captions, actions, embellishments read from the script, but now small details are keep changing. Yeah,
and they're going to. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if she sticks with the narrative, they have to change because not everything in that narrative, in that script, makes sense. And that's what I was saying in the beginning, which is one of the coolest things about scripting, is that, for us anyway, is that they never think it all the way through. They just can't. There's no way to think it all the way through. It would take an awfully long time to think everything through and every possible question that's going to be asked about the situation. And so when those questions do get asked, it stumps them, and we get deceptive responses and the little indicators that we look for. And so for her to stick with that narrative, she has to learn as she goes, and as she listens to shows like this. And so she will change things up to make it make sense, to make it flow, and to try to make it right. The problem is it's late. It's too late. She's already said what she said. And so now everything that, from watching these shows on, we know that she's been influenced and she's been taught, and now she's responding. It's contaminated. We've contaminated now her responses. So she's going to respond to counteract the things that we have said and called out. So that's the norm.
How often does Ellie keep in touch with family in cases like this? Well, Brandy's a perfect example. She talks to them just about every day. But in this case, I know for a fact they are not communicating in totality with the family vet girl, i.e., they're communicating with Dawn now every day.
Yeah,
because
right,
through the bars, here's your tray. Okay. Have I watched her YouTube channel? Yes. Debbie, yes. She jumped right up like nothing. Always bothered me, Cindy. Yeah. That's, and as Steve mentioned tonight, that it was kind of an overemphasis there, and go back and watch this again. And I think you'll also see some other stuff in there that bothers us. If you're just getting here, we got 5,500 people here still. So, get over to Steve, Truth2Lies.com, hit his, not only his YouTube, but hit his website. You can take courses over there. He teaches this not only to law enforcement, but to the public. And, he's amazing. I've known him for, a couple of weekends now anyway. And, every time he comes on the program, I learn something new. And, this is what a team, i.e. law enforcement, does behind the scenes in these large, high profile investigations. You call in guys like Steve, you sit there, you throw everything at the wall, and then you evaluate where all the parties are coming from. And you come to a consensus that, look, the evidence is pointing us in this direction, and you follow the evidence. You don't necessarily only just follow the statement. You follow what that statement meant in relationship to where it's taking you. And you keep an open mind as you go through this. And, everybody, had me multiple times, wanted me to give an opinion. I'm not going to give you an opinion until we see what the totality of the circumstances were. I have a theory, I have a lot of theories, and there's 4 of them. And I've mentioned those multiple times. Okay. And so, love you guys. Thank you, Renee. We love you too. Thank you for your hard work. You're both true heroes. Hugs from a cop's daughter. Well, God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're very kind. Please address the milk jug picture again. I believe she's alive in that photo. What's your take? Well, first of all, I'm not going to say whether she's deceased or alive. Number one, that would be really irresponsible to say either one. Now, I will, and I have, and I'm going to have a medical examiner on who will be able to look at that photo and give a medical opinion. Whether it's right or wrong, that will be up to him to say. Okay. But everybody's talked about the fingernails and, decomp. Decomp starts, it happens, consistently the moment the heart stops. But at the same time, depending on the temperature, depending on a lot of variances in relationship to how the body is going to react, it's just, I don't have enough information personally. And so I'm not going to say if I think she's alive or deceased, but I have reached out to a couple of docs, and everybody's looking at the same photograph we're looking at to see where it goes. So I hope that helped, Chai. Okay. What do we got here? Robin. What about Rose Bly? Do you think the full story will come out? Yes. Rose Bly's story will come to the surface at some point. I have been in contact. I've had conversations with the investigators investigating that. And I promised them that I would not say anything until they gave me the A-OK. And the lead investigator told me he would come on this program to talk about it. So we're going to let them do their thing. Let's see here. Let me go through here. So we answered vet girls. Yes, we answered that one. She jumped up like nothing. Thank you so much. We got that. Please address the milk jugs. Okay. Yep. Got that. What about Rose Bly? Yep. This one. What about CW saying this is new. Yeah, this is, Steve, I don't know if you heard this. She makes a statement that says she has to put Summer aside and focus on the boys. That was recent.
And I think that is part of the first part of the statement that Cheryl sent me. And after following that, she says, because they're still living. Something like that. I'm maybe speaking out of turn there, but
yeah, she did about the boys. You're right.
Yeah. So that's a huge statement for the investigators. I mean, what's she telling us there? Because they're still living, and I don't even think we need to say anything more about that. She said it for us.
Yeah. Yeah. End of that story, right? So to answer this question, I just answered that a minute ago. I talked to the sheriff on a conference call with the lead investigator And that also was through the Cold Case Foundation. We plugged them in with some stuff. But I'm not at liberty to discuss what the totality of that conversation. But I can tell you this. He said I could say it. They are moving forward. Okay. That investigation is not cold. And since Summer has gone missing, it is actually, put heat into the investigation. So that's good news, right? For Rose.
Wow.
So we'll see. Susan, the interview room, and Steve, do you think the TikTok video was taken on the 15th or uploaded on the 15th as an alibi? This is the TikTok, Suzanne, about the one with the baby in the water. I hope that's the one that you're talking about. And the digital evidence in this case is downloaded into a program from a company called Celebrate. And we all know that because when you go in and plug your phone in at the AT&T store, okay, that's called a UFED, and that's a Celebrate device. And that moves all your stuff over, okay, into the new phone that you just bought. Okay, it's the same company, but with other capabilities on the other side, I can't talk about that either, okay, because we're not going to give away all of our secrets, that catches these bad guys. So I hope that answered your question and helped. Let's see. Jane, Jen, Pud, and Dan. Good grief. I love it. Chris, was the basement door locked or unlocked when you were there? It was locked. And she relocked it. Did you see that? Go back and take a look at what, Steve and we just talked about here, and you'll see her when she walks out. She turns, goes back in, comes back out, and locks it as she comes back out and checks the handle to make sure it's locked. So like Steve caught, all doors, nobody in, nobody out. Sounds like she's still in that pattern. Based on searches, can we assume she made it home alive or not? Not based on searches, but that's a great question. Biscuits and crazy. I love it. Absolutely. Chris is back. She said on CC's panel, okay, if I could do things differently, I would have walked her out. Okay. Yeah, it's the gift that keeps on giving. And there's going to be a lot more. Arkansas, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to hear things from the views of seasoned professionals with years of experience of working cases like these. Thank you for your kindness and saying that. And thank you for sticking with us. We're so grateful. I know some of the best in the business, as you can tell. This guy is amazing. Not only Steve, but, many others that we've both been very blessed to work around. And the fact that we still feel that we're blessed to do this, and the fact that he still is training, he's teaching. Think about that. If TBI is stuck, guess who they're going to call? They're not going to call Ghostbusters. Okay. They're calling Steve Johnson saying, hey, I'm sending 3 guys to your class. Okay. Do I think DW knows where Summer is? I'm going to let you answer that. Justice for Janine. Thank you so much. Good to see you here. Steve, what do you think?
Yes.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah. And I think his narrative is running out of steam now that he's locked up, where he's not able to control it. I wonder if TBI took possession of Summer's slushy cup. I'm thinking Summer may have been drugged with some of Grandis meds for a reason we don't know yet. It could be. Very, very well could be. We don't know yet. You're right. Kingpin things before typing back became a YouTuber. Thank you so much. Great to have you here. And we're so appreciative of Steve and the amazing things that he brings to the table. And not only just this investigation, but many others. He's very humble and we love him for that. But at the same time, he's actively engaged in a lot of, a lot of cases. I love this one, Shelley. Chris, what about the I will always love Donnie, but not in love with him? I think when Donnie hears that he will talk to hang candy, hang candy out to dry. Could be. Yeah, well, let's hope if that's reality, but only if it's reality, right? Chase the truth. Chase the truth. Lies get caught up in our business left and right. Just ask anybody that's done this for a couple of weekends. I mean, it's interesting. Why didn't they rake the mattress? That is a great question. Ken, I don't know if they didn't, to be honest with you, or take the mattress. That is a great question. If those are her mattresses that we see, those filthy mattresses outside, which it looked like the same one, I can't answer that, my friend. That is a great question. I do not know. I do not know. But I can tell you this. We know what Don's propensity is. I know that for a fact. In fact, he admitted it. And if you think, Jeannie or Mary are just the first victims, right? We now know there's 7. But I will submit to you, there are a lot more. There are a lot more. Thoughts on child and new video, asking for myself, a lot of others in chat. That's the one in the background in the hotel. I don't know who that child is, but it sounds like it looks like it's somebody that is close to her, or at least a friend that's close to her, and they're bringing their kids. So here's the good news. Glad Don's not there.
Yeah.
That's the good news. Okay, so Steve, as always, I cannot thank you enough, okay, for spending your time with us here. And I know that you, like me, stand with the victims in these horrendous cases. And you have dedicated your entire life to doing what you do and putting, bad people in jail. And it doesn't mean we're disrespectful, right? As we talked about earlier.
Oh, not at all.
But you have a unique gift to see and to hear things, and God's given you a platform to teach it. So, I just am always humbled by your humility and in giving this gift. There are a couple of you obviously in the environment out there in the world, but you've always risen to the top, and that's why so many people come to you. And they ask you, hey, and you've worked some pretty horrendous stuff in your time, and you're able to give it back now in a different way. So, folks, I love telling you about Steve Johnson and Truth2Lies. And if you haven't, and by the way, I want to thank you because you guys blew his YouTube channel up after he was here last week.
Thank you.
We've got 5,300 people in here tonight, so let's blow it up again. Go over to Truth2Lies, his YouTube channel, blow it up, and you will not be disappointed. You can sign up for his newsletter. You can sign up for his classes, corporate America. But on this case tonight, I wanted him to take a hard look at, some of the things that he did here and share his knowledge with us, because I learn as much as you guys do when I listen. And this art of conversation is a lost art. And it's because of guys like Steve that we're able to still pass that art on to somebody else in the career, the younger generation. If you're a law enforcement officer or you're a public safety, or you just want to learn how this works, go over, do his class, take his class. And for Ellie, you guys can do a total deep dive. Have your department reach out, your training division, to Steve and his team, and sign up, because who've been tracking this case, from the moment it went down. I mean, they're coming up with stuff. And just the other day, I got a note from him going, "Did you see this? And here's what it means." I'm like, what? Just small things, but they're huge. Just, and even those little nuggets, I'm going to go back and watch this again, because when he opens his mouth, it's like E.F. Hutton. Remember the E.F. Hutton commercial, right? It's like, oh, what did he say? What did Steve say? And I love learning from not only you, Steve, but just your insight on a lot of different things. So, as my tradition, you get the last word. Thank you for keeping summer in your heart, but more importantly, thank you for helping to make sense of some of the things that are coming out of the investigation when they open their mouth. Okay? I know one day people will look back and go, wow, okay, you nailed Barry Morphew to the wall. Okay. He was done. Okay. You nailed Larry Miliete to the wall.
Yeah.
He was toast. Okay. I think other people are going to be toast here. I'm not going to throw a piece of toast out yet, but my TRR, our family, we all love you. And I just want to say real fast before I give him the last forum here, or the last moment, is I'm so appreciative of everybody in our chat, all the members of our team, our mods. Teresa, thank you for becoming the newest mod. We appreciate having you on the team. So grateful, and look forward to many things ahead of us. Miss Sophia, for your leadership. Miss Maui, number 2, we love her, and aloha in Hawaii. But so, Steve, I'm going to give you the last word. All of our mods, by the way, before I do that, sorry, thank you for everything you do, for all your donations. Grateful. We always just appreciate you subscribing and sharing this video. Try to make it go viral. And we're almost at 100, guys. We're getting close. So we're almost there. So for that, I thank you for subscribing and for sharing this. So, Steve, after you're done, say whatever you need to say, my friend, and then we're going to Hawaii. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. Thank you, Chris.
Okay,
I think the only thing I would like to say is that it's just an honor for me to be associated with just God-fearing people, good people like Chris McDonough and the other folks like him that we have this. We've been blessed with abilities and gifts that just are God-given, and we have the opportunity to bless the lives of others in cases like this and Brandy's and so many others, and it's just there's nothing more gratifying. There's no reason for anybody to have to live in a situation where you're constantly being manipulated and deceived, and we can teach you how to come out of that. It's not that difficult, but it does take some practice, but we can give you those skills to do it. Law enforcement, my goal is to get everyone in law enforcement trained in these skills. It'll make a huge difference moving forward, to not only put the bad guys in jail, but to exonerate the innocent. And that's what we want to do. We're just simply searching for the truth, and the truth comes out. And the brain's default setting is to tell the truth. That's the way God created us. This is a kind of a sticky society that we live in right now, with everything going on in the world. And my advice and encouragement for everybody is just to stay positive in your language, stay positive in your thoughts, and just keep sending out those good vibes to everyone, especially those that are struggling, and trying to keep the freedoms preserved and throughout the world. And it's been a pleasure and an honor, and that's thank you. And I look forward to being on the show again.
Hard working every day, I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts, wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah, make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away, you and me, go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. I need a summer breeze, some fresh air to put my mind at ease. No cares. You wanna come with me? Me and you go to our favorite tree. Are you ready now? We jump on a plane now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. Don't hesitate now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. We'll never come down. We're going away. Yeah, we're going away. You and me. Feeling the sun on my face in a while.